everybody, to Geek the F Out. We're here to talk about Masters of the Universe Revolution. Episodes 2 and 3. I am Lucha Johnny.
And I'm Kayla. And I'll wait for the music to go down.
Okay. Slow
and steady.
Smooth.
No hard out.
Fade out.
No hard in, no hard out. Just smooth.
I mean, the hard in is kind of unavoidable because you just hit play.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Welcome, everyone, to Geek the F Out. Thanks for being here. We're going to talk about MOTU Revolution. I almost said the wrong thing. Episodes 2 and 3, like Johnny said. Yeah, we are joined by Brick, our co-host for this series. Welcome.
Hello, everybody.
And for episode 2, we are joined today by the VactorVerse. Also, I muted you guys, so FYI, you're going to have to unmute yourselves.
Hello.
Hello. And then we are joined by Andrew of Gayties Toys. Hello.
Hi. Nice to be back.
Yeah, glad to have you here. It's been a minute. But yeah, let's say hi to the chat, and then since we've already gotten Brick and Vactor's background in MOTU, we're gonna have to get Andrew's after that. But let's say hi to the chat first, and then we'll get into that.
Okay. Derek Hoover, we really hope you can catch it tonight too. So hopefully
I think he said he was gonna catch the replay in the Discord.
Okay. Stanley's Toy Channel is here. Thanos Copter, Shiny Plastic People, wielding the band hammers in the chat for us tonight. Thank you very much. Hey, look at us. We're here. Yes, I pinned Chris's comment. Allison Troy is here. Brick something. Kenzo's Creations. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Vactor is here as well. Neil Hunter Hyde, hello from Alabama.
Alabama.
Sweet. I think we've got all time zones represented. East,
probably
Central, Mountain, Chris Plastic holding down the Mountain time zone, and Pacific. Yeah.
Aren't you technically Vactor Mountain?
Yes, right now.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like half the year.
Yes.
Oh, those, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's one of those
savings here.
Fluidic time zones.
Yes.
And apparently, Andrew, you've won the shirt battle according to Vactor.
Yeah, now you gotta show off your shirt.
Negative space for the win.
Nice. That's cool.
I believe that's everybody. I don't think I missed anybody.
You better not have.
No, I don't think I did. I got everyone.
Welcome, everyone. Good to have you here. As we've said on our last few shows, Geek the F Out is a inclusive and welcoming space to everyone, and we will not have any kind of hate or bigotry here. So if you're gonna comment that, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to go because all are welcome here. So we don't want any of that. No. All right. Okay, Andrew, your background on MOTU, when, your history of it, what did you start? Johnny, when did you start watching? When you watched Revelation, what was your reaction to that in general? Go.
Oh, wow. In under 30 seconds. So I'm an old, I'm a very much a Gen X old. So I was born around the time when MOTU was just coming up, sort of thing. So I discovered a He-Man Battle Cats 2-pack under my parents' bed, and I was like, what is this? And that just launched forward. And then on top of that, it's very personal to me because I was adopted, and my mother used Tila as an example to explain that to me. Your mother could not raise you, so this is the wise, Also, maybe I have bird powers. Who knows? I don't know. I'm waiting for that. Any day now. But I was hard in. I was at the perfect age. I was hard in. I had all the toys, all the play sets. When 2000X, the Mike Young Productions came around, same thing. I was very much into that. Classics. My children over here got into that. So, and then all the cartoons I've always watched, but Revelation I really liked. Because I mean, for me, the Tila aspect was very important to me. Being such a personal character to me from such a young age. I really quite enjoyed it, and I liked to see that sort of that final pillar where it's like we always had the He-Man and the She-Ra, reaching their destiny, and then Tila finally doing that to propel the story forward. And I think that's also why, and I think that's why Revolution stuck so hard, because we finally have things in place where we can propel the story. So I'm thrilled. I'm excited about this and where it can go.
Yay. So yeah, we already talked about episode 1 on Friday. If you missed that, make sure to go check that out. And yeah, we also covered Revelation as one of our rewatch streams because it was the first time I watched it. So make sure to go check out those 2 videos as well. And yeah, so for the first part, Vactor and Andrew will be joining us to talk about episode 2, Ascension. And then later on, probably around 8 p.m. Pacific, we're going to talk about episode 3, More Things in Heaven and in Eternia. So yeah, let's get into it. Episode 2, like I just said, is called Ascension. I'm just gonna list the new voice actors for this episode because last time I was gonna try to say them as we go and I totally forgot. So we have King Miro is voiced by Tim Sheridan. Queen Amelia is voiced by Harley Quinn Smith, who has an awesome name. Granomir is voiced by John Delancey. Prince Randor is voiced by Jakari Frazier, and Prince Keldor is voiced by Brett Rash, which kind of an unfortunate name, but so yeah, wanted to get those out of the way first. And yeah, we're just gonna go scene by scene, FYI for anyone who hasn't watched this before. We're gonna go scene by scene and talk about it, essentially. So we start off with a flashback of Randor and Keldor. They're looking through their dad's desk when the king and queen come in, and they talk about how Keldor is a bastard and he needs to go back to his land on Watgar. But the king doesn't want to do that. Any thoughts on this first scene as we're getting this background of Keldor? At least we think it is.
Oh, he's a bit of a bastard, isn't he?
Jon Snow, you know nothing.
It's for me, it's more of the Eddie Izzard. It's like he's a bit of a bastard, which used to be so important. Now it's kind of sexy. He's a bit of a bastard.
Not gonna lie, I did wonder about the situation with Randor and his mom, but anyway, we'll leave that to some other thing. You were gonna say, Andrew.
Oh yeah, no, it's like the Keldor's mom has always been sort of a hot topic among the community. I did like the kind of the marrying of some like more recent DC comics and the Mike Young productions, the sort of like the Anwadgar racism. The 2 countries, or they're like really the 2 civilizations were like totally separate. Like they really started like really and very easily, very like skillfully kind of like did this. I mean, it was a lot of like 2 talking heads dumping information, but I mean, it was like it's watching your mom and dad fight too. So like it had that kind of vibe. So I'm like, good job for like delivering really important key stuff, but also like the household these 2 young boys grew up in.
I thought the line was funny where I think it was Keldor was like, he's out like, or no, I think it was Randor that was like, he's always angry. So I was like, okay, so basically Randor is the Hulk. Got it. Good. I found that funny. Vactor, did you have any thoughts on the scene?
I love this, getting the whole backstory and seeing them as children and finding out, because for me, a lot of my MOTU upbringing was just the toys, and I made my own backstory up. So kind of seeing this filling in blanks for me and gaps for me was fantastic. I love all of it.
Love that. We love filling in gaps.
Yes. Oh, wow.
And we quickly go to present day with Keldor and Adam. They talk about, what happened and how he pretended to be dead, as well as, who should take over right now because, Adam can't be both He-Man and the King. And, Keldor says, "Oh, I don't want it," which I was like, "Sure, Jan, sure." And then suddenly Skeletor attacks the city, which I really liked Cringer's line of, "Oh dear, I know that look." So cute. And they had the H intro after He-Man transformed. I don't know if they had that before last season at all when he transformed.
I
didn't
that.
notice it at
Playing
least.
with his logos quite a bit this season, where they were like, let's just grab bag whatever we feel like.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it was totally like the 80s, kind of like I was almost expecting it to cut to commercial or something, right? Where it's like,
or like a PSA,
it was an
like,
odd
don't lock
thing.
yourself in refrigerators, and you're like, yes, He-Man, thank you for
Yeah.
telling me the obvious.
Brick, real quick, I think your audio source is not correctly selected.
Is it not back to the thing? Am I tinny again?
Yeah.
Got it. Well checked. Boom.
Hopefully. Oh.
Continue.
Anyways, any thoughts on? It's not really much that happened, but Keldor and Adam's conversation.
I will say, Andrew, you said Keldor's mom. It sounded like they gave her a name, Siren, because he refers to her by name.
Oh, Keldor's mom?
Yeah.
I'm worried that could be spoilers for season 3 if that ever happens. Like, you can look her up. She's badass. She was almost an action figure. She was, X, Y, and Z, but like she's something else entirely. And she's definitely garb, but like she's also like some potential cool toys coming too. So like I won't get into that.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And again, she's not even been confirmed, but like she's long been rumored, we'll say.
Okay. Keldor comes in and says like, "I don't desire the throne." Dude, then why did you come back? Why did you come in at the end of the first episode and be like, "I'm the rightful king, but I don't want the throne."
Yeah.
But I don't want it. Once again, yeah, sure, Jan, sure.
Yeah,
we all believe you.
I don't know if I'm naive, but I think where they threw me was when I'm with you. I was like, yeah, sure, Jan, and then when they said Skeletor's attacking, I don't know if I'm just still a dumb kid, but I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess they really did kind of create this new character. So so I, at this point in my watch, the first time, I was just like, okay, so I guess they really just wanted to throw a big curveball, and I'm curious to see where they go with this. And I was just kind of in for the ride. And I don't know if you mentioned this before we left, but part of selling this too was the voice. Did you mention that while I was off? Yeah. The fact that it was not Mark Hamill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that it was William Shatner. So it was like, it was like, oh, yeah, 2 totally separate characters. I guess this is where we're going with again at this point. So
it was so funny, like no one really pinned that. I'm not gonna say no one because someone's gonna come for me, but like everyone was saying like, Gwildor is gonna play Gwildor because it was such a small role and you don't get Will Shatner or we didn't think Will Shatner would be able to do Keldor. Like we didn't think he'd be, because the man's like 90. This is a paycheck. We were wrong. Like he was spectacular. Like that man is old as time, and he's like
he is 92,
lively and like magnetic. Like he was really good.
Yeah, he did a great job.
And I don't know that it's anybody didn't think he would be Keldor. I just don't. We think we didn't expect Keldor at all.
Right.
Like, and of the people that we knew were going to be in it, Gwildor seemed to make the most sense. And then I think there was a little bit of like Granomir was in the poster, and we were like, oh, maybe it's Granomir. And then they announced John Delancey. It's like, well, it's not Granomir, so maybe he is Gwildor. And
I think at one point they said that he was not Gwildor. So, and I think I might have kind of said this before, so forgive me if I'm being repetitive, but it's exactly what you said. Thought Granomir, they said, no, it's this, it's Q. Sorry. And then,
Yes.
oh, it's Guldur. They said, nope, it's not him. It's definitely not him. So I was like, oh man, who's left? And then even after the toy leaks of the Keldor, and like we kind of knew, at least those of us who were paying attention to the leaks, knew that he was going to be in the show. My brain still didn't go like, oh, well, that's going to be William Shatner for whatever reason. I just totally was like,
Also, like sidebar, I love that these cartoons, much like Gargoyles back in the day, are just sort of like Star Trek, like kind of pet projects. Because like Gates McFadden showed up as the new Queen Marlena, and I was like, "This is better casting. Thank you, Dr. Crusher."
I agree. She was fantastic.
And I said this last time because we talked about her in episode 1. She's a fantastic Queen Marlena. She's perfect.
Much better, much better than '80s Mallrat Queen Marlena. No.
And then so we have the next scene where Tila goes to Frozen World, as I called it originally, and I was like, oh yeah, this is Dark Smoke, and finds Granomir, who is dying, and she also notices that there is a 4th tower on the painting on the wall, and all of a sudden Mommy Lynn shows up at the beginning, or at the end of the scene. But yeah, so there's a 4th tower, and it looked like it kind of had like a ram's skull on it or something like that, which was very exciting because I knew about the 3 towers just from the Eternia playset. So even I was like, ooh, what's this?
Yep. And they called it out as well. Like Tila was like, wait, there's a 4th tower, and they kind of focused in on it. So, or I think she said there aren't 4 towers. So yeah, I was right there with you. And that's, as I pointed out before, like that's one of my 2 biggest like nerd desires for this season, was to find out what was up with all the lore stuff around the gods and the goat getting bit by the snake, getting attacked by the falcon. Like I wanted to know more about that. And I loved, like when I saw this, I was like, oh, cool, we're going to get into it. So
yep. I love too that like the Havoc Tower was sort of like the redheaded stepchild in the backyard, like off in Brooklyn or something. Like they're like, oh yeah, don't look past that mountain.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah, we don't go to that.
Talk about the 4th tower.
Yeah, it was coming.
But also, like, it's such a dig. I know, like, the Keldor figure leaked early, but I mean, like, I was so shocked Mattel wasn't like, hey, did you pre-order Eternia? Would you like to spend $300 on this other tower? Like, pre-orders now. Like, I was like, come on.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, it'll be like attachment to Eternia. But actually, yeah, Granomir.
On that note, it is interesting to me to note that Eternia is the only toy so far where they explicitly said, oh, this works for MasterVerse too.
That is true. Yeah.
No, I mean, it would be horrible if they end up releasing like, here's an extra tower, but
and all the railing pieces. And also too, I mean, like the room it already takes is obnoxious. So a 4th tower.
Yeah, it's gonna be insane.
No, like no more.
Yeah.
No, why no? Granomir definitely gave me Smog vibes for sure. Like just off the bat, not even including what happened later. Like that was my first note about it. But yeah, any other thoughts on this scene, Vactor? Any thoughts on
I wanted to ask,
tower?
What's everybody thinking about Supergirl taking over for Tila versus Buffy?
Good.
Love
yes.
it.
Love.
Me too.
Yeah,
10
it's
stars.
much better. I love you, Buffy, but like she was a very nasally kind of Tila, and I quite like Supergirl's sort of more haughty way of talking, and it's a little more adult, frankly.
Yeah,
even though there's quite an age difference between them.
Yeah,
and a lot more subtlety too. I think in sort of a lot of the line delivery, and you got sense of like doubt, and she just seemed to have a lot more layers. Granted, like the character was in a very different place in Revelation, and so this is also a very different period for her. But I liked it.
Also, I mean, just like any scene, Lena Headey as Eva Lynn or Good Lynn or War Crimes Lynn or whatever we want to call her now. But I mean, like, she's just Mother. Like she's just serving Mother all the time. Where she comes in, drops like this Emma Frost veneer where it's like, I'm better than you, I'm bored with you, I'm frustrated by your inferiority, and I'm like, I feel that. It's like, thank you for seeing me.
Your existence is an affront to my sensibilities.
Yeah, there's a lot of that attitude in that. I love it. I also don't want to like bypass it. Was in the chat. I don't want to bypass. This is the first costume change or costume reveal, I think, for Tila. Right? We get the snow Tila, which I love.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna need all the Tilas. Sure.
They need to start
All
doing
of
like
them.
3-packs because like there's just, and even like in one scene I'm
You
like
might as well.
like,
Yeah, especially that one scene that we'll talk about later. So then we have Skeletech and his cult, as I call them, are attacking the city with nanotech, which turns all the people in the city and seeps into the ground and awakens the techno giants. Which my first note on this scene was, oh, Keldor is joining the fight. Very sus how he knows how to take down the Titans, though. Very sus. And also that the techno Titan that came out of the ground, I was like, this is like the techno version of the Mega Mutant from Mutant Mayhem.
100%. I was trying to figure out if they were. There is one later that is a toy, but like the ones they showed here, I was like, what are these? Like it looks like Neon Genesis Evangelion, or looked like kind of gooey Attack on Titan Akira stuff. Like I was like, I couldn't pin them down. It was very like very cool, but very strange style.
Yeah, it definitely was its own sort of unique look and reminded me also of oh god, a Robeast from like Voltron kind of a thing.
Yeah. I can see that.
And what Johnny has.
Major Breath of the Wild, like Guardian Stalkers vibes from these things. And more about that later too. But yeah, they definitely, the Titan definitely had its own design language compared to like everything else in the series. They did a good job making it look completely alien compared to all the design sensibilities of like all the Eternian tech and everything else we've seen.
Did you say we're going to get back to Zelda, Johnny? Or were you... Okay. Just because, those are like ancient robots that were inactive and buried, right, in the game.
Yeah.
And you defeated it by... Or maybe that's coming up later. Yeah, that's coming up later.
I mean, yeah, sort of. There's a similarity. But there's other Breath of the Wild things throughout the whole series that just pinged in my brain.
Including the Cloud Crusher, which we didn't mention last time. But yes, moving on.
Yeah, and I was kind of worried for a second when He-Man got the tech on him, but also I was like, it's He-Man, like I doubt it would change him, but also I don't know, it changed a lot of other people. But yeah, luckily the sword prevented that and prevented the kid from getting infected. And my other comment from this scene is, ooh, Mendor gives me Scarlet Witch / Mantis power vibes. You know,
you have like little blue energy things, like I actually had money, like good money, on He-Man dying again this season.
Oh,
just as an FU to like the fans kind of thing, and then like, and so when the Borg stuff starts raining down, I was like, this is it, I'm gonna cash out, and then the sword saved him, and I was like, no.
I gotta point something out here. I love alliteration. And I didn't notice. I don't know. I might have to go back and rewatch Revelation and see if this was all throughout. But I really picked up on it in Revolution. That I don't know if it's Kevin Smith or what it was, but there's a ton of alliteration in here. In this episode, Skeletech is like, the ancients constructed massive mechanical marvels to combat the malevolent forces of magic, and I was like, yes, I want more.
It's great. There was quite a bit in Revelation, especially with Skelly talking.
I need to go back. I need to watch it again.
Yeah. Actually, last night on GDL, Ted Biaselli was on the episode and specifically said that like, oh, that's all Kevin. That's all Kevin Smith, which is definitely, I know, a thing that he does, and he's attributed it to, the Mighty Marvel kind of, Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man, and on and on and on. So,
but also like very like 80s He-Man, because I mean it was that tactic. Like
yes.
Like
with you,
Skeletor's way of
Vactor.
speaking with like, you stupid boob or whatever you would
Yes.
call Randor.
Which we did get one this season. I was waiting
boob.
for it. I was like, one singular boob.
Did we only get one boob? That's
I
interesting.
think so. Yeah.
One side boob.
I know I heard
It's
a
a
royal
royal
boob
boob.
in one of these two. Yeah.
All of a sudden, more people joined the stream.
What?
Bumbling boobs.
There you go. But yeah, I'm a big fan of alliteration too, so I'm
thought
right
you were
there
gonna
with
say
you on that,
boobs.
Vactor. I mean that too. That goes without saying. I mean, come on.
I mean, same. And we're derailed. Okay. I keep this going. Keep this going.
Alliterative.
Anything else on the scene before we get to the next Tila and Evelyn scene together?
I just love that they really leaned into the whole, again, some of the theme here is the idea of the science versus technology and the nature of the horde versus the nature of, the sorcery stuff. And so the idea of resurrecting these ancient technology that was once on Eternia, that I don't know, we haven't seen this yet, but could be alluding to some of the stuff that Granomir talks about of like Eternian humans' warlike past, maybe, or even, we know that the Gar are technologically savvy, clearly, based on their on Keldor's attempt in this episode, and just all the little nanotech stuff. Like that's cool. Like clearly, there's some cool science versus sorcery stuff going on. The question is like, it's all kind of dangerous and all kind of weird. And as you pointed out, Kayla, He-Man is able to heal it because of magic, presumably. So that's kind of cool.
I like that kind of like history building too, like in the sense that like there is like this stuff like laying under the ground kind of thing, and that was one of the earliest conceits in the old mini comics of the toys, was that there was a great war that was sorcery and science, and the old machines of war were kind of like rusted out and abandoned, but the sorcery kind of kept going. And so you've got people in the Iron Mage just messing around with like flying spaceships and laser guns. And so it's they try to like marry these two very disparate genres kind of thing. And the show does it really well.
Did you say that was in the DC stuff?
Oh, we're talking like the OG, like the old comics that were in like the figures back in like 1982.
Oh gosh, I don't know that I caught that. Cool.
Unrelated to that, I did notice, circling back to, we were talking about voice acting and I was talking about effects on voices last time. There is reverb. There's very subtle reverb and effects on Skeletor's voice. I really only picked up and noticed it because it was during this completely out in the open outdoor fight and he's echoing just a little bit and everybody else sounds normal. So there is that. Whereas like, I think in previous stuff, he was just in like cavernous areas where it would make sense for it to reverb anyway. So it just sounded like it was the environment. But here he's out in the open in the streets where it wouldn't have that kind of echoey reverb. And he still has that on his voice. It's just very subtle compared to like the reverb on Skeletor from Filmation. So
I will say in terms of what we learn about the Anwankar, how much of it is actually true from Keldor or from, Skelly pretending to be Keldor? Because like, did he get all those memories back? And also was he actually attacked as soon as he got there? Because then how much time did he actually spend there and learn about them? Because the technology is coming from Motherboard that like he's using for everything anyways.
Well, actually,
even
at
his
this
counter
time,
technology.
Yeah, at this point, he doesn't. These aren't based on his memories. These are based on what he thought he was playing out of fiction. Because later Skeletor. Oh, spoiler, whatever. We'll get to it. Skeletor disguised as Keldor is playing out the fiction that he thought. So like. But as far as like the Gar having the technology and all that, I don't know if that was part of the question or not, but that is sort of an established thing that the Gar did embrace science, and I feel like they alluded to it in the argument between Miro and Amelia. Did they not?
Mhm.
Wasn't there something about technology? Maybe
Yeah.
not.
I think
Maybe,
Keldor
I
actually
can't
mentioned it because he
remember.
was sort of like showing off like glowy wristband stuff, and
Yeah.
the Gar are kind of known for being like denying sorcery and going more in the engineering and technology kind
Yeah.
of side. And they're really sometimes they're immigrants from a different planet. Sometimes there's just racism, and they're just like a planet full of like lizard and wolf
Right.
people. These blue people have to stay on this island, like away from everyone else.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
the
they're always,
notion of them having tech was kind of a thing. So even if it was a fiction, like it would have been sort of established among the people there that like, oh yeah, the Gar have technology, and so if Keldor lived, he would still probably have developed with all this technology and know how to Bluetooth attack the robot or whatever it was.
Bluetooth.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
that
was
wasn't
looking at
intentional,
the,
but yay!
the
Actually, I
the
forgot.
old map of Preternia that came with the Masters of the Universe Classic subscription,
Mhm.
and on that they have like up in the left hand corner in a bubble, like indicating that it's far away. It says Anwat Gar, and there's
Mhm.
all sorts of like crashed spaceships and stuff in that art for that area.
But also too, like in the 2002 series, another character they haven't introduced yet who is blue, one of He-Man's buds, like he's from there, and they did more of a ancient civilization, very Aztec meets Asian theme. It was kind of like a little weird mashup of the two, but like it felt like they were native to the place. Yeah, like the mythology changes, like the details change, almost
Yeah.
like Batman
Yeah.
or Superman. Like the details are different with every person you talk to.
Very interesting. Yeah, I
Don't
just
say it.
thought of
Nobody
that.
say it.
Hmm?
Nobody say it.
Okay. Anyways, I don't know what you're referring to.
Good.
Anyways, so then Teela and Evelyn catch up about why she's there, and you know, Teela guesses, she's like, you aren't here to take care of Granomir because of like what you did, because now he's dying, and it turns out it was, which I thought it was funny and kind of called back to in Revelation Part 2 when Skeletor to Adam was like, oh, you're not going to go to Evelyn and just try to talk with her, and he's like, oh god, you are.
Yeah.
I loved that parallel. That was great. But yeah, she was like, please help me, like convince him to give me the staff, please and thank you.
I just liked it's silly, but I just liked when Teela was like, "Oh my Zor."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like, oh my god, oh my Zor.
Yeah. Yep. And
Yeah,
we do
they
get
said that a
confirmation
couple
that
times.
she was on exile in Tralla, which
Mhm.
someone may have said that in their stream before it was confirmed. So anyways, any thoughts on this quick little scene? Nope.
Yes, but
Okay.
is this the scene where she kind of slightly caps on, or Evelyn is kind of like, I didn't call you an idiot, I called you something else, or was that
I
Simpleton.
think so.
Simpleton?
I
That
think
was
so,
this scene,
yeah.
right? I
It's
love.
nicer.
Much
Yeah.
nicer.
It's so
It's-
perfect. Like it's perfect of where
It's so
the
Lynn.
character's at. You still get the sense like she's still Evelyn. She's gone through some
Just
stuff.
snide comments.
She's trying to make up for some things, and she's kind of And as far as the Trollin thing, I don't know that it was ever confirmed, but that was definitely something that was out there just because of like what you saw in the background in that scene from Revelation. But anyway, I like this scene, and I did. But let's hear what other folks say, then I'll go back.
I do like that they're much more equals now, because they were the two chicks and had literally the same body action figure, so they were rivals. But I mean, one was like, she beat people up with a stick, and the other was a sorceress, and so there was no real like one-to-one comparison. So I like that they're both like on an equal footing now.
Yeah.
And are both kind of like just kind of bitchy to each other. I just kind of like that.
Especially next episode too.
But their stories are so intertwined from Revelation 2. Like I think Teela's constantly pushing Lynn to kind of in Revelation to look at her relationship with Skeletor, as do other characters. And I think she's always kind of pushing Teela to kind of like, everything from like her fate to all this stuff. And then here later we get, there's that sense that they push each other that I don't know, I kind of like. I like that there's a lot of tension, but they're also kind of moving in this, like, I'll just say similar path.
For sure.
Also, we haven't really talked about Granomir with John Delancey, who
That's what I was
I could
wondering.
barely clock. Like you hear him sometimes, but like I was like, he really did like something very different than usual. He didn't do Q2.
Did you notice Johnny at all if he was affected? I don't think I was paying attention enough.
Delancey, he had
Yeah.
lots of effects on his voice. Yeah,
Like a
there
gravelly, was the
reverb.
growl stuff there too? Or was that just his voice?
I think it was just his voice, but there was definitely echo and reverb on it, and maybe some other type of distortion.
Sure. It's also the room, I guess, really echoey in that cavern
Yeah.
museum.
Yeah,
but I love
his
the
had
attitude.
His had a more intentional quality to it than just environmental. I am interested because I'm a freaking geek. That Granomir, Big Red Dragon, has green fire, and the only thing I can think of it's because it's coming from Ka. Like all the Ka like magic is green and turns Tila green. So I'm assuming that his fire breath, his breath weapon comes from Ka, and that's why the fire is green.
Well, he came from the mini comics too, where he was green but looked otherwise identical.
That's true.
And they took that story. That was his first appearance in the cartoon. Was just literally the mini comic story, which is fantastic. If anybody wants to watch an actual good episode of the old cartoon, that's A Dragon's Gift is a good one. There aren't many.
And I like the idea that you're naming, like, oh, the magic is coming from Ka. And there was a stream where I was in the live chat and was just kind of just talking about stuff, and people were pointing out that, like, oh, well, you know, he's snake-like, so he's a dragon. And then I was like, oh yeah, oh, wait a second. And I was totally joking, making a dinosaur joke, saying, I have it on good authority that dragons have feathers. And then I was like, oh, wait a second, he's got
dinosaurs.
horns. Yeah, but also, well, that was the joke. But then the whole thing about the horns, and then I was like, oh, but that's kind of goat-like. So I was like, I wonder if like dragons in this world kind of have the three things going on, the three sources of magic. But I don't know. It's just a random thing.
That would be interesting. Like, I see what you're saying. Dragons come from all sources of magic, so they have the long, lanky body like a snake, and they have the horns like the ram for Havoc, and then they have feathers for Zor.
Potentially. I don't know that he actually has feathers, but there's a little bit of bird likeness in there. So
at least this design
and the wings,
Granomir, because I'm pretty sure the Filmation Granomir and the Minicon Granomir, the horns were part of the helmet and not his own, or did they come out through the helmet?
I don't think said.
I think they were metal. I'm trying to remember.
Central Tower might be a dragon. Central. Do you mean the fourth one?
Versus a lion?
Yeah, I thought it was a lion. Or do you mean the new fourth one?
No, the Central Tower is the big blue one.
The Central Tower is...
I know that, Johnny.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. At the very top of it, does it have wings? No, it has paws in the front. But at the very crown, are there any wings?
Yeah, it just kind of tapers up. Like,
I don't know.
I do also like that, like, Granomir and Lynn sort of found each other, and they're just these like old queens who were just mad at everybody, and I was like, we belong together. Like, we found each other.
Well, sorry, on that note, I do love, again, the idea of her penance, right? So much of what we learn about Lynn from her conversations with Orko and sort of her general background from the mini comics, and sort of maybe even why Skeletor and or the Horde specifically found her and brought her into the fold, was because of her propensity for magic and maybe interest and love of magic. So I love the idea that, one, she was exiled after doing all that harm to kind of like, you know, like go to Wakanda like Winter Soldier and like go figure stuff out in Trala of all places, like filled with magic. And then her penance, the Trollans are like, go help out this magical being in Eternia, and you go take care of him. There's something real cool about her and magic. Because I feel like that was
Totally.
what actually, if I remember from Revelation, what brought her back, right? Wasn't it something like she was real cynical and nihilistic about what she saw the vision was about? And then later, there's some moment, again, sorry, old, where she says something about like, oh, it's magic, right? This kind of like,
It's
oh,
magic.
Yeah.
yeah.
The reverence.
It's
Yeah.
magic. Okay, so then back on Eternos, He-Man, Duncan, Andra, and Orko talk about how they can use the sword to fix people. I fucking loved it when Orko was about to take the power, and I really wanted him to so bad, and he's like, just kidding. I was like, this is why I like you. I
Like
loved that.
I'm a firm Orko hater, and like this series and last season, I've really come around on him. He's just
That
so
has
great.
been a very common sentiment from a lot of people that like Orko was one of most people's least favorite things about Filmation, and he's been great in this. And I'm in that camp too. I was never really a big Orko fan, but I'm enjoying him in this.
I gotta say, like, I was a fan as a kid, but also I was a kid of Filmation. So I've very much, I'd like to think I changed a little bit since then, but it's like, I would say that is true, not just for Orko, but for Cringer, for a character that comes up later, for all of the relationships, even Evil Lynn, even Skeletor. So I'm just sharing that because that's still my running thesis in terms of like defending, I guess, Revelation from some of the concerns that people had about like wanting it to be this continuation of Filmation. And in my brain, like that just doesn't work. Like so much time has passed, and the people who actually love this presumably like hopefully changed too and grew up. So this fit perfectly for me in that like I still love this thing, but I'm in a very different place. And so they wrote something. Yeah.
If you like look at any like, and this could have been 20 years ago, it could be like last week, but anyone who actually does like, here's the top 10, Filmation He-Man cartoons, it's origins of Tila or Sorceress or Orko, or it's always like side characters, but it's always like the world building. It's like, remember that time the Horde invaded? Like it's stuff like that. It's never literally like the 140 other episodes that you're like, let's maintain the status quo. Like it's always like
The
something
He-Man
that
adventure
like,
of the week kind of a thing.
Yeah, like it kind of gets boring. And I mean, if people wanted to continue the boring, go back and get it.
Yeah.
But
Exactly. Let's see. And I this was the first time we heard Battle Cat and not Cringer speak, which was exciting for me because I love Cringer.
I think that's the first time ever in anything, not just in this.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure Battle Cat never spoke, except for
no, he spoke
except for CGI. Oh, did he?
He's very chatty.
Battle Cat, not Cringer.
Yeah, both of them.
I'm talking about Battle Cat.
Oh,
and those two were He-Man
wait, no,
that's
right. Like, he had a kind of an angrier, like,
and they were like different characters. It was sort of like, it's not like Swiftwind where it's like he was basically the same horse, only he could talk. But like, Cringer and Battle Cat were different people, and it was really weird.
He didn't have that fear, none of that. It was all like
like he was down to clown, and you're like, who are you?
Okay.
I don't think he talked in 2000X at all. I think they took away Battle Cat's ability to speak in 2000X.
Shut up.
That was that was the vibe they were going for.
Shut up. The humans are speaking.
But it was such a cute moment when he's like, I've loved being your Battle Cat. I was like, ow, my heart. But also I was like, please don't die. Like that sounds like something a character would say right before they're gonna die, or if they're gonna die during the season. Yeah, I was like, I won't trust ever again. But luckily, spoiler alert, doesn't happen. Thank God. I already was like scarred from Orko last season.
Yeah, I mean, we're finding out MOTU is very much like the X-Men, where it's like dying is like a cold. Like you'll get over it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and I think it's voiced by the same actor for Battle Cat and Cringer. Yes. Any other thoughts on this quick little scene before we get into the coronation?
You said what I was going to say about it.
Just there's a statue in the back that I was kind of curious about. I didn't know if it was King Grayskull or something else, or it's like he's got fur, long hair, but it's a little bit. So there's total nerdy thing. And I guess before we move too far, I just wanted go back a little bit, and I just realized one of the beautiful moments in that scene when they're fighting was He-Man with a kid. Like I feel like that was such a cool moment of him. Like you see the concern that this real like kind of heroism. Anyway, did we touch on that? Or am I getting super old again?
Sorry, I'm kind of
in
lost.
The battle before the scene with Granomir, right before this one. I don't think him kind of saving the kid. Did we totally talk
yeah,
about
I talked about the kid.
See, perfect. I'm old. I'm
You're
just gonna hang out here.
It was a very quick comment, so you're good.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, then we have Adam / He-Man making Keldor king, and he repeals the law that wouldn't have made him king before. And I was like, yeah, this is def a trick. And next second he fucking smirked. I was like, yep, I fucking knew it.
Up until this point, I was like, I wonder what they're gonna do with him. Like, how are they gonna? Oh, he's just evil.
Yeah, it's like and that's the thing. It's like the most obvious explanation is, in fact, the true one. So I mean, there's a thing where like, and I felt like so gullible. I mean, like I didn't think like a cartoon could pull the wool over my eyes, but I'm like, maybe they're doing something different and blazing new trails and doing like just totally different origin. Nope, there it is.
That was me. That was totally me. I was totally like fooled, and then even when that moment that Kayla is like, okay, yeah, he's bad, but my brain never went to, oh no, wait, that's Skeletor, and that other person was somebody else. Like I don't know. I guess I was just totally sucked in.
I had even heard people say Keldor and Skeletor before in discussions, but I just had completely forgot about it. So I was like, holy tits.
Well, Kayla, that's kind of like the interesting thing. I mean, was it like shocking, or were you kind of like, did you have like a tip off to it, or?
I mean, I had a tip off that he was bad, and also like Skeletor's kind of blue, or has like I don't know, some kind of blue to him. So yeah. Which I think that was the only thing, but I wasn't for sure. I just knew he was bad. Yeah, that was pretty much it. But let's see. So then we have Tila. Sorry, any other thoughts on that quick little scene?
Did anybody notice the weird look? Not weird look, that's messed up. But the Trollin looking, unmasked Trollin things that we saw from the Mondo figure, kind of in the background. There's some in this, and then they come up again later. And I was like, oh, are those meant to be Trollins? But they look like that bug-eyed Mac and Me kind of thing.
I did see those, yeah, because I thought I saw Mac and Me more than that, and the kid going off the wheelchair down the cliff. But oh God, that Mondo Orko face, like I can't. I don't want to look at it too long because I block that out.
Get nightmares.
No, like it's not right.
It's not right. Let's see. So then we have Teela and Evelyn convince Granomir to give them the Staff of Ka / Snake Power, which once again, he is very much like Smaug, or like, Lord of the Rings universe, which, technically that's Smeagol, but, gives them a riddle that they have to solve to get the staff. And I was like, yep, this is very Lord of the Rings-esque right now.
Yeah, I feel like the calamitous power of Ka needs a more robust screening program than a riddle.
Yeah.
Honestly,
and she answered it right away, too.
Yeah.
You're real good at riddles.
Perhaps you are ready.
You're so
You're really
like, I get
one
they had
riddle.
only 5 episodes, so they had to kind of speed things up. But still, like, at least pause for a second.
I feel like we were sort of talking beforehand where I think like that thing. I mean, like we were talking beforehand where I like that we were reviewing this episode one because like Teela and Evelyn, Granomir, but also like the pacing's still good. But from here on out, it's off the rails. And so like I think we're starting to see like right then and there that it's starting to like really ramp up where they're like, we got no time for riddles. Like, get your snake powers.
Yep.
And also, I just thinking, did who like what?
Yeah.
What did you say, Vactor?
Vactor, were you asking, did you like
Yeah, I was asking Kate, do you like that 5-episode structure of these? Because Echo had the same problem on Disney Plus, where it was like, as soon as it felt like it started to get going, all right, it's done.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering, do you like that? Do you like the five and done?
I think I would have liked 10 episodes, maybe a little bit more, but honestly, looking back at it, LOL, I think it worked well. I Yeah, I mean, me being a Lord of the Rings fan would love more lore to it. But I think they did a great job with the time they had. Um, yeah, I think maybe if it was more like Revelation without the part 1 and part 2 and just all one season, could have flushed things out a little bit more. But I loved this season. It was great. So I have no complaints. And I also loved Echo. Like, love. So good. Big fan.
Yeah, Echo, it definitely felt like it was hacked up and made into something else. Like it felt like they actually had 10 episodes and they were like, we gotta like edit this down to 5. But MOTU, I know I'm kind of suspicious that it was meant to be 10 and they'd sort of like had to quickly make it 5. But I mean the pace, it propelled you forward. And I mean like I smashed through it in one sitting. So I mean like
Yeah.
it was fun.
It's pretty much, it's exactly like a movie, like a lot of people have already said.
Yeah, and I think that I'm with you on wanting more. Like I feel like the space of things could have just filled it. And you gave the perfect example in terms of like the riddle or whatever it is. Like they just needed a device to get to the next thing because of the lack of time. But I think given all the drama from the last one, there's this vibe of like, well, where I was going with it was like, you don't want to have to tell people, no, you should get to the end. And it's 10 episodes versus like, no, just watch all 5. And then
Yeah.
see how
Yeah.
rad it is, and I think there's something about that's happening with this one where it's like, well, I'll watch it. It's a movie and they're getting through the end. They get the complete story. No, unfortunately, there was that awkward sort of break between in Revelation where, just happened to fall on the sort of death of Adam, where in interviews they said that there wasn't supposed to be a break. It was supposed to be all 10 just going through, but then it created even more awkwardness with this weird long pause in between it. So people were just like, see, they killed Adam. In this way, it's kind of like, okay, hey, we got a story to tell. Check it out. You can watch it from beginning to end. And you think about, I know I'm going to be careful on spoilers, but some of the things that do happen and get revealed towards the end, I think are just that chatter, exciting moment for everyone to be kind of excited about wanting something next. I thought it was smart.
Also too, like fans, we're never happy. So I mean, like if it had been 10 episodes, we were like, too much padding. It should have been shorter. Like
it's true.
We can't
filler
be happy.
episodes.
No.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Very true. Yeah, and we get Snake Tila, aka I keep seeing people say Green Goddess. Is that what they mean? Yep. I figured. Which that was very exciting, and yes, that is what I did my look after with all the snakies. Even though they're very thick snakes, but that's fine.
Oops.
Oh no, you're making me big again. It's
Johnny's
very
like,
hard to see the details.
let's
'cause
look
it's
at me
very
instead. No, that's
I'm wearing
awesome.
a wig.
And I've been jealous of your makeup. So if it wasn't clear, this is my solution. I figured I'd turn myself gar.
I was wondering what the blue was.
The easiest way I can.
Tila
Enough, I kinda did the
tequila.
same thing.
Yeah. Since you just said that, Vactor, what did you think of Snake Tila, Green Goddess?
I love it. I want to see more.
Oh, we definitely see
Agreed.
more next episode.
We have a special place in our hearts here on Geek the F Out for green skinned women.
Yeah.
Back to our
Seeing
roots
a
with
lot
Star
of green
Trek.
skin at the same
Long
time.
legacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why am I forgetting who else has green skin?
It's the menagerie, the Orion.
Keldor likes
Oh, yes.
green skin.
Very
ladies.
first one.
Yeah, Keldor especially likes.
They were
I also liked in this episode, again, the dynamic between what's happening with Tila and Evelyn. But in this episode, there's this she challenges. Sorry, in this scene, Evelyn actually challenges Granomir and kind of was like, "Come on, like you can't pull yourself out of the responsibility of what happened with the last time you gave people the power of Ka." And it's just kind of neat that she's talking to this being about redemption and, you know, like not accepting responsibility. And then she actually quickly turns to her whole thing, you know, eventually, in terms of like, she seems very cognizant about her crimes, I guess. I've heard people say war crimes, but yeah. I don't know.
I like
justice for Lynn, from my perspective. But
yeah, like Tila
Mommy
was just sort
Lynn.
of kind of, yeah, mother. But like Tila kind of came in just going like, come on, give me the snake power. And he's like, no, you all suck. And I like that Lynn was the one to just put the screws to him, being like,
Yeah.
you are responsible for this. You are yourself a war criminal. Like, you need to fix this, and this is how you do it. And it
Basically
was just such
Chopper.
a she was just like not having it. So she's like, get to work. And also, we need to advance this plot really quickly. So
She did blow up heaven. And that's the thing. If Tila had just gone on her own, I don't think she would have convinced him. Like, she
Yep.
needed
That's
evil
right.
Lynn. It was kismet. It was meant to be. Now kiss.
make out.
Make out. Yeah.
Thanks,
Any other thoughts on that before we get to the final scene? Nope. Okay. So yeah, we have this quick little scene at Snake Mountain where it is revealed that we've already talked about in this episode that Keldor is indeed Skeletor and Skeletor is Keldor. Well, we find that out later, but I was like, how do I phrase this? Keldor is Skeletor.
They are
Those are
one
their
and the
names.
same.
Like, their names also sound almost like come on.
They're both blue. Like,
And is this the first time? I don't know if they've worked together before. Is this the first time Captain Kirk and Luke Skywalker have been acting next to each other?
I
Yes.
Or is there something else that I missed?
think it is.
I think it is, which is
I
pretty
thought that
damn
was great.
epic.
Yes.
yeah,
Pretty damn
heavy
epic.
hitters of science fiction, just like in one
Yes.
room,
Yep.
bantering.
I did that at Fan Expo, both Luke Skywalker and Captain Kirk in one weekend. That sounds very wrong.
Did you have green screen?
Oh, best $50 ever spent.
And yeah, I mean, any other thoughts on that scene? Like the reveal, how it was revealed, any of that?
They fooled me.
They
I'm
fooled us
gullible.
all.
Yeah. Anybody in the chat, tell us how stupid we are, because you probably figured it out too. 'Cause
I know.
I was the
please.
same thing. I was just totally in it, and I was like, "Oh, I guess he's not." Oh no, yeah.
Like, you double
Yeah, I
crossed
was
me.
waiting to see how they were gonna like. I was looking at them as two different characters, and I was thinking, based on what we know of Keldor and his relation to Skeletor in the MOTU lore, like, were they gonna get merged into one being later
yeah.
in the season? Like, that was my crackpot 5-minute theory between episode 1 and 3.
Also, I mean, good for them to actually, like, there is sort of like a bit of a not a cliffhanger, but like a big, revelation, as it were, at the end of each episode. And like, I'm glad they didn't drag it out. Like there's
Yeah.
bigger things coming, but I'm glad they were like, all right, let's get to this mystery box.
Yeah.
And
Indeed.
to go back to what Johnny was saying, just it would have worked too if we did your crackpot theory. So I think we had this post show last time. It's a similar conversation, but again, in the lore of classics, at least, and a little bit hinted at in a mini comic, Keldor and a demon that they later named Demo Man were merged, and in this reality, in the prequel comic, they actually say that, like, they call him a skeleton demon. So like this notion that, like, oh, he already was a skeleton demon and maybe was going to get merged with this guy could have worked. So crackpot, but kind of worked if you were like an overthinking MOTU fan.
Yeah, because those
Guilty.
comics sort of gave us like OG origins of him, where he was like extra dimensional, yada yada. And then like and likewise too, like Evelyn had an origin story in those comics that doesn't quite line
That's
up
right.
with what I think is what they're going for. So read them, but maybe ignore them.
And I think that's what they did. Is they took ingested a lot of stuff from different sources and did some really fun cherry picking and combining in a way that I think is super smart and tells a good story.
Yeah, like it's kind of crazy to me how much they did with not just 5 episodes, but 5 like 23, 24, 25-minute episodes.
Mhm.
Like that's such a short, like it really is a movie, and yet it's still broken up in these 5 very concrete episodes. Like even if I didn't have my notes, I can pretty much remember what happens in each episode, whereas I feel like a lot of shows you're like, oh, did this happen in this episode or did this happen in that episode? So yeah, it's cool how I don't know how they did that. That's just beyond me. But
And also how so many people have their own arcs. Like even like Andra,
mhm,
who isn't like a huge character. I mean, like she has a very clear through
love
line
her,
over 5 episodes kind of thing. And it's like, didn't expect that, to be honest.
right?
But everybody gets like, you know, their time to shine, which is great.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the episode in general, especially Vactor and Andrew, before you guys head out in a little bit?
Well, this episode was good, but episode 3 might be my favorite episode. So I know I'm not gonna be here for that discussion, but
Oh
can
no.
I say
Oh,
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
it's
go
just-
ahead. Go ahead.
it's just the way the schedule worked out. But I just want to say my favorite line from episode 3, which when I watched it, I rewound it and I watched it 3 times, and I told my wife, come over here, and she saw it and she laughed. It's Keith David's, and this is what made me like zoom in on my radar for alliteration peaked. My ears were like, what? When Keith David said, often more horrible than the horrors hurled by Hordak himself, and I've been the herald of more horrors than 100 hells. And I say, yeah, this is great.
That
Like,
is a
heavy
tongue-
David voice, like
That is a
incredible.
tongue fucking twister.
Yes.
Mhm. Also, there's like a Wrath of
Tongue
Kwan
twister.
quote in the next episode. I think maybe the
Ooh,
4th.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's
Oh.
that. It's one of
Interesting.
Khan's last lines, kind of thing, and I heard it and I'm like, did Shatner just say that?
Perfect.
Love. If you guys want to give your kind of like overall thoughts on the season without spoiling the next 2 episodes before y'all head out.
No, I think I've said it
Loved it,
before.
hated it.
I like this. It was great for like great pacing, great character development. It's sort of really built on the first episode, and it's almost like a nice breather, just to sort of lay the laws of the land, because the next 3 is going to be just a fire hose. So it's a good primer.
And real quick before we switch to Vector, where can people find you and what do you have coming up?
Down by the docks, and also on Instagram. Down at Gayties Toys, because you can see down in the little
Yes.
box and the docks.
$50
Love,
you
love.
said? $50? Was that what
But you get a $40 value.
All right, Vector. Overall thoughts for Revolution before you
Yes,
head out?
I loved Revolution, and just to echo the sentiments, it just continues. Like there's a upward momentum that, and like I said, episode 3 is the one that I was like, I am in. This is exactly what I like about animation, the voice acting, the writing, Kevin Smith, like everything, the animation itself, like everything just for me was like, this. I'm having a good time, and this is fun. So I really enjoyed Revolution overall.
Love. And where can people find you? What do you have coming up?
I actually doing a little bit of a rebrand. I've split my channel. It used to be just Vactor, youtube.com/Vactor. And I was talking about all things superheroes and Star Wars. Well, I said, let me split those 2 up and let me create 2 different channels. So now I have Vactor's Comic Verse, and I'm playing with the name of Vactor's Rebel Verse for Star Wars. I don't know, so I'm kind of workshopping that. But I have two
Okay.
separate. There's links in the description down below, and so I'm just going to be putting out as much geek content as possible, and hopefully having every single person here who is in this episode on my channel as well.
Love, love, love. Yeah, and we just did a Star Trek comic stream
Yes.
with you, and that was
Yes.
so much fun, and excited to talk about the rest of the comics in that series.
Yes.
It was my first full comic read through. It was very exciting. Very
That
exciting.
was fantastic. I loved
Mhm.
popping Kay's cherry on comics. That was the best.
I was
thing I've
about to
ever
say
seen.
that. I was like, I won't do it though.
And Johnny
Well
was
done.
fantastic.
Well
He is a
done.
genius. He's a geek
Mhm.
genius. So at any time Lucha Johnny is around, I always love
He is a gentleman and a scholar.
that too.
Well, thank you, Vactor. You are too kind. Too kind.
Yeah. Yes.
Love the
John is
thumbnails,
awesome.
Vactor. Great job on the branding.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, he does a great job. And like all your shorts and reels that you do, chef's kiss.
Thank you.
So good.
Thank you very much.
So good. You've had a lot that have gone viral, like viral too.
Kind of,
Just a
but
few.
yes.
We had some that were like over 1 million.
I do have 3 currently that are over 1 million.
Yeah,
and they're
that's something.
Just 3. Come on. Now.
Yeah.
Work a little harder, Vactor.
I enjoyed that I went through a bunch of them yesterday. I enjoyed that they kind of loop into it.
Oh,
like
yeah.
the end loops back into the beginning.
yeah, I try. I try.
Once again, chef's kiss. Well, thank you too for joining us to talk about episode 2. We'll see you back here soon. Yeah, you're welcome to join Friday night if you want to come talk about 4 and 5 later on. No pressure at all, but we will be doing our massive That's What They Said that night, just letting you know. So
I'll be there. Yeah.
All right. Have a good evening, you two.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
And
both.
we're going to bring on one of our 2 next guests. We're going to have Miss Allison Troy, aka Retro Toy Princess. Are you adding her? Nope. Okay.
I thought you
There
were, so-
she
yeah.
is.
Oh, no.
Armed and ready to go.
Oh, hi. I was just sitting here polishing.
And Mad Hatter will be here soon. I just got confirmation. He's like, I'm 5 minutes from home, so he'll be here soon. But
California traffic, that's like means he's in the valley. So poor guy.
LA traffic.
well, he was
yep.
actually only 5 minutes from home. He was saying like somewhere that was 5 minutes from home. But yeah, that's that's a good point, Allison. Who knows what that means?
As long as he doesn't have to stop at the La Brea tar pits, he'll be fine.
Yeah, so happy to have you on again, Allison. We always appreciate your input and your witty humor. Let's see. Do you want to give your quick thoughts on episode 2 since
Oh, sure.
weren't here?
Grab those notes really quick.
Can just be like overall or favorite scenes or moments. Now Brick is green.
Cough.
He's green. What happened? Have you been eating peas and carrots again?
It's that dragon juice.
At least it's not kombucha. It tastes like feet.
Okay, kombucha is once again amazing, Allison.
If you like
Come to the
No,
dark side.
we're covering 2 and 3 tonight.
Yeah, 2 and 3.
Oh, here we go. Okay, quick episode 2 shit. I mean things. I liked the Horde redesigns. I have Meg Foster ! Which meant I really enjoyed whatever motherboard-iness was happening. I enjoyed the Tila and Evelyn whatnot. So, Gwaldor
Nice.
got some exclamation points. I like the Thunder Punch pack.
Oh, are you in 3?
Motherboard
Three?
taking over Grayskull was epic, even though I wasn't fond of the Grayskull techno look. That was a little weird.
Yeah, this is episode.
It looks like
3 stuff.
bad 90s album metal cover, but otherwise.
Allison.
What?
It's just I was just asking episode 2.
Oh yeah, that's episode 2, right?
No,
nope.
3.
Oh, huh. Well, then I mislabeled. Then what are my episode 3 notes?
I don't know.
I'm not going to go first then when it's time to talk about episode 3, because these might not be episode 3 notes after all. It all sort of blurred together while I was watching, I guess. Anyway.
That's why
No
I'm cheating
worries.
here with my little notes.
No worries.
My notes.
All good. Yeah.
Anyway, the horde was cool. Meg Foster, yay.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get into episode 3 now anyways, but yeah, just wanted to...
Was that episode? God, how did that happen? Oh, well, it was early / late when I watched them all the first time. So.
All good. All good. So episode 3 is titled More Things in Heaven and Eternia. And we have 2 new voice actors this episode. Stondar, which I had to ask Johnny. I was like, "Who's this stoned dude at the beginning?" I think I said blue dude, but stoned dude at the beginning.
Dude.
Of course, he's Stondar.
Stondar.
And he's voiced by Cam Clark, and then we have
the prolific
yeah.
Cam Clark.
Mm-hmm.
I know him best as Liquid Snake from Metal Gear Solid, but a lot of the people watching might know him best as Leonardo and Rocksteady from among many other characters. From
I thought he was
TMNT.
Prince Adam / He-Man in the 2000X series.
I believe he was too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I know him from. I don't.
Truly
not other
prolific.
Stuff. Too nerdy for me.
And then we have Gwildor, who is voiced by none other than executive producer of the show, Ted Biaselli.
Yeah.
And which I didn't even realize it the first time I was watching it. I was like, oh, this voice actor. And then as I was doing my notes, I was like, what the heck? I was like, he does such a good job. Such a good job. My favorite Hobbit in MOTU.
I thought that was, I was feeling ambivalent because a lot of people were like, I hope he does the voice of Gwildor correctly. And it's like, sir and madam, that's not a voice. That's how Billy Barty talked. So I was having some feelings about it, but Ted did well enough that I was like, okay, I can accept this. It's a good, he's paying homage. It didn't feel like he was quote unquote doing a voice, because sometimes that can sound a little weird, or it could sound like he was mocking Billy Barty, but it didn't. So I was pleased. He did a great job with that. Good job, Ted.
Yeah,
he did. I didn't know that he was had done a lot of voice acting work prior.
Yeah,
I didn't know that until
he's
last night.
He has done a wee bit. All right. Let's get into the episode. We start off on the Horde ship, and Hordak kills Stondar. And then Motherboard pays him another virtual visit that Skelly interrupts.
Well, wait, let's because he makes a very specific point, in that there's always a champion on the planet, and they always come to fight him, and they always none of them realize that he doesn't fight. So technically, Hordak doesn't kill Stondar. He hires well, as he says.
Yes.
And Leech, Mentana, and Grizzlor, but mostly Leech end up killing Stondar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is my summary. I'm like generalizing a lot of things, but yes, Hordak tells Skelly Keldor was based on truth, and Skelly's like, what the heck? But yeah, Grizzlor shows up, aka the furry, as I called him before I asked Johnny who that was.
It took me a second. She's like, who's the furry? I'm like, the furry?
The Grizz.
Oh, Grizzlor.
And I loved Skelly's comment when he's like, little lord, look at my abs, Adam. And I was like, yes. Which I was like, Skelly, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you're definitely queer. And yeah, this is when he does the royal boobs comment as well. Any other thoughts on this first scene?
Yes. Star Wars sci-fi goodness of this opening shot from underneath. I absolutely loved it. And we see the planet actually sort of being bombarded. Hordak is definitely truly a conqueror. Johnny kind of alluded to what he shares later. Hordak shares later that he hires, well, I don't do my actual fighting, which is complete and total trash in that he clearly can fight. So like on the one hand, yes, no, I get it. But he's not like, like a weakling kind of thing. Like clearly he can fight. We see that, but like many conquerors, right? They don't do the fighting in the main. They're the leaders. I was chatting with someone. It's like, when our president is commander in chief, it's not like they're necessarily fighting. And when Congress, who is the power who gets to declare war, they're not the ones doing the fighting, but there's this just this order of things, right? And I love that. I love that about him because it is a horde after all. It's not like Hordak. It's the horde. This like folks are just going to come out of nowhere and take over your planet and destroy you. So I think there's just a little bit of him messing with Stone Dar's head, trying to like, yeah, like you ain't nothing. I felt like it was more like I can fight, but I'm not going to waste my time. Minion number X, handle this guy. So that's my take.
Yeah, that was such like a power move. He's like, I don't do the fighting. I have other people do it. Like
rock guy.
Be gone. You're made of rocks. You are breakable.
I would
Allison,
break you.
Did you have any other thoughts on the scene?
Obviously, I already made those comments, but just to reiterate, nice redesign of Leech and Mantenna and Grizzlor. I thought that this slapped. I will say I was sort of sad that even though I don't like Stone Dar and he was my least favorite, one of my least favorite figures as a child, I still felt like I still have a hard time when you actually kill a character. So hopefully they bring him back as like, I don't know, something. But even though I don't like him, he's somebody's favorite character. So yeah, those are my thoughts about that scene.
Love.
Rock-On was nowhere to be found, so maybe we'll get Rock-On avenging Stone Dar next season.
And maybe he'll find...
There's a Rock-On too?
Rock-On!
They did not make, in the vintage set of figures, they did not make the ladies, Granitina or Peblas.
They actually fold up. Oh, sorry, I
Peblas,
thought you were
like
done.
Pebbles.
My bad.
Pebbles, but she's a lass.
It's actually Stone Dar.
But maybe in season 3, Rock-On will show up and they'll find Stone Dar in the bottom, like in a coffin in the bottom of Lake Michigan, and realize that the real Stone Dar didn't die. It was a fake clone of a Stone Dar that died.
So these characters, Kayla, also they actually turn into rocks. Like that's their power. They turn into rocks, or they are rocks. But the toys would literally just sort of fold over, and their whole
That's awesome.
But I will say,
where can I get one? I need it. I was
you can find them very
geology major.
inexpensively on eBay, and pretty much anywhere that you find vintage MOTU toys, they probably have a mint on card. Stone person, because those are the first things I remember peg warming as a child in MOTU. It's like, oh boy, more Stone Warriors! How exciting!
For the folks who are out there that were like, "Yo, Stone Dar is my favorite character,"
we love that
as Allison. So sorry he did die, but one, I thought he looked really cool. I loved his helmet, the yellow, and he went out like like he wasn't gonna let his people die. Like he stood up for his people. Sometimes you get overpowered, but he didn't give up. So
he crumbled.
Neil asks, what planet did the Hordak and Stone Dar take place on? I think they were on the ship, but yeah, where is Stone Dar from?
Did they ever give them the name of the planet? I'm not sure that they did.
I don't think they were just escaping from something, from the evil Cometoids.
Inflammation. Yeah, and then they landed.
And then they landed on Eternia.
Not sure if they ever
in the comic books and the mini comics, but in the cartoon they landed on Etheria because He-Man show was over. It was all Princess of Power at that point. So
Interesting.
I think the Star Comics had the name of the planet they came from. I should know because I'm literally rereading those right now to make a video about those.
And I will just say, with all the ships and everything you see in this one, we've said it a bunch of times just tonight that there was like an economy of storytelling. They're just moving and moving and moving. But I will say, when you're doing that kind of storytelling, you have to like really like pack things in, and some of the visuals in this with the ships and the explosions, that pretty quickly gave us a sense of the scope of like the power of the Horde, where it's like this whole thing of like we have ships, we're going to surround your thing and we're just going to bombard you and take you over. Like it seems like brute strength kind of thing, which makes me wonder why some of the stuff happens later, and why they went through so much trouble of all the sort of subterfuge to take over Eternia, right? Sending down Motherboard and starting a cult. If you can go to these other planets and bring in all these ships and take over, I wonder, is there something unique about Eternia where you needed to have a different strategy?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because, yeah, like, the Horde is fucking massive. Like,
well, there's,
they have no problem.
They were very strategic in the way that they went about trying to take it over. In this, especially in this episode, there were some really specific things that they did.
Yep.
So that they could arrive on Eternia.
Totally, but
it just seems like maybe they were blocked from it before that moment. Didn't feel clearly explained to me. But it felt like something, which is why they had to sort of infiltrate the way they did. So, and
that's exactly what I'm thinking. There's something that's unique about Eternia, and I think it has to do with magic or something.
Agreed.
But I just want to point out, it wasn't just this episode. If again, looking back on Revelation and Skeletor's being sort of brought into the Horde, and clearly so him being brought into the Horde in Revelation, and then him, later finding Evelyn or whatever and having her join, tells me that Hordak was aware of Eternia a long time ago and found Skeletor a long time ago. And as we'll learn a little bit later about the Keldor-Skeletor connection, I just feel like there's something more to it, because this scene shows me you got ships, go take over a place.
Well,
something's going on.
You got ships.
Well, I think the magic is definitely one, without sort of addressing anything that we haven't got to yet or in a future episode.
I know, it's hard. It's so hard.
In the vintage storylines, Hordak had no magic. He had Shadow Weaver. That was the magician. His chief way of controlling people. I'm trying to be careful for Kayla's sake. The chief way that they would control people sometimes would be through Shadow Weaver's magic. Hordak didn't seem to have a technological way to do that, and so it seems really. I mean, this is one thing I really enjoyed about even people were unhappy with Revelation, whatever. But with this one especially, you can really tell that the writer, Kevin Smith wrote some of it, but there are other writers on this. There's an executive producer. There are actors who obviously, based on the interviews we've been having, have brought pieces to this. There's a deep understanding of the lore, and there's some definite points of view about that lore, I think, that we're getting. And I'm not saying that like in a bad way. I think we're getting some really interesting revelations on ways to look at the vintage, even though this is not really a sequel. It's sort of it's the facts of life. You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have revelations and revolution. There's a time you got to go and show your.
You can't do that to me. Like in my head now, I'm singing it. But thank you.
When the world never seems to be living up to your dreams, Brick.
Anyway, got it.
Anyway, there seems to be a real deep. I mean, I don't say seems. There's clearly a deep appreciation for the lore of MOTU, and Princess of Power, and it feels like they are drawing from that. in ways where maybe that was never the intent in Filmation, that, you know, Hordak wasn't doing magic himself, and that was just sort of how they wrote it. But it seems like they've taken some thought toward certain dynamics in the old stories in Filmation and trying to use that to build story from. So I really, it started for me, started really coalescing in this episode that they're taking sort of established continuity and, you know, doing some alchemy with it and transforming some shit into gold, as it were. Because some of, you know, some of the Filmation stuff's pretty, like, it's written for kids.
Water
and
into wine.
have, like, filler episodes, because you have to have like 70 episodes for a season that plays out over a year. So so I really appreciated that, especially with episode 3 with the arrival of the Horde, because it showed a deep understanding of what actually is there, and a way to try to make it work for modern storytelling.
Agreed. Before we move too far on, did you see that Thanos found a name, and we should respect the fallen people of Geelon, and we stand with you until you are free from the Horde. Solidarity.
Also, looks like Hatter should be on in a second. I know he's having a few technical difficulties.
I'm ready. Let's go. We march on Geelon. Geelon is it? Do they have a Starbucks? I need a caramel macchiato before I go to war. Double shot espresso, y'all. Espresso. Anyway.
You brought up that comment too on Shadow Weaver. Was there something you wanted to, either of you wanted to say about that?
I just say, yeah, there's no Shadow Weaver in this, obviously, and it feels like Motherboard is kind of filling that role. It's interesting because it was mentioned in the first episode, like she obviously bows in deference to Hordak, but he refers to her as Mistress Motherboard, so I don't know what the power dynamic between the two of them is.
She's his dom.
But also what I picked up on, and this again is from the lore that, and I could be wrong, this could be me reading too much into it, but Motherboard functions almost as a handler for Skeletor. And this sort of plays in, obviously my notes are a little messy. It seems as though Motherboard may have been sent to get Skeletor in line, almost as if perhaps she has previously failed with Skeletor. Like, that seemed like some of the dialogue felt like maybe she was on Eternia doing penance for failing to conquer Eternia before. And so if that's the case, my thinking is it's not so much that Shadow Weaver is missing. Perhaps Shadow Weaver is another handler for Hordak.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. My sense is that, like, Motherboard is clearly one of maybe many different people that are like, sort of like, you go to this planet, you go to this planet, you go to I'll check in with you on that project later, kind of a thing. But it's interesting when you're sort of saying that maybe she failed with Skeletor at one point. Again, I'm still wondering, because it was a long time ago when Hordak and the Horde first identified Skeletor, according to the comic book Revelation. I'll start there. And so they had been to Eternia presumably a long time ago, well before the events of Revelation. So yeah, my sense is that there's been a long game, or maybe a long campaign for Eternia's to conquer Eternia. So maybe there is something there with Motherboard, or this was just maybe like the latest step, like Skeletor failed. So our backup plan, like, let's send him or send her in there to kind of like take over his minions, create this whole cult and the whole nine. So I don't know. But I dig it. I'm excited about Motherboard, and the use of this giant technological like being as a minion of the Horde to try and take over Eternia. I think like all of that just works so well.
I also like that it appears she may even have slight size changing capabilities, because she's not always shy, but sometimes she is. Like, I really want, again, like, I think I said this when we did our big, if I didn't, I meant to say this, when we did our big sort of Revelations recap episode, Motherboard is really exciting, because while she does play off of the concepts of Screech, she's really a wholly unique character that sort of is informed by lore but isn't lore. So it's like she's kind of like a blank slate for them to work with, and I'm really excited just by the possibilities that newer character. Andra is exciting to me because she's a new character. Like there's not decades of lore with Andra, so there's a lot that they can do with that character long term to play off the established ones. And Motherboard's just super interesting. Like we don't have a full grasp of what she is, what she can do, what her background is. Like, I don't know. She's exciting to me. She's a great character.
Shout out to Chris, who was on the show with us recently, but just he points out that at the end of Revelation, when Skeletor sees Motherboard, there's a recognition. No, it can't be you. And I always just sort of took it as like, oh, it's the Horde, and that's who he was responding to, because eventually she puts up the Horde symbol. But I think that's tying it in with your comments, Allison, that and Johnny's, that like there could be a connection there in the past. And to Johnny, the whole thing about Shadow Weaver, I'm hoping maybe sometime in the future we will see her.
There was definite recognition when he said at the end, because I specifically remember bringing this up at the end of the Revelation stream. He's like, no, it can't be. It's impossible. I don't know if it was particularly that he recognized Motherboard or he recognized it as being tied to the Horde or what it was. But he definitely had recognition and, in a sense, fear of what was happening.
Definitely.
Oh, so cool. So smart to take your villain that you're so afraid of and all of that, and then show us that that villain is afraid of something else.
Yep. And it looks like we should be joined by the Mr. Mad Hatter himself.
With an actual hat.
Hello.
Hello.
We got it. It worked.
I had to use my phone. That's why you got the nice parallel cinematic thing. Yeah, that's happening here. I don't know what's going on. For some reason, like
video.
Yeah, exactly. All my browsers are like not having it today. It's like blocking me out. I don't know what is going on. I don't know what's happening, guys.
We can film a short right after this. She'll be fine.
Perfect. Well, thanks for joining us. Glad you can make it. We didn't even get that far in the episode anyways. We literally just covered the first scene.
Okay.
So you didn't miss much, but before we continue, we've been asking everyone what their history of MOTU is in the franchise, and quickly what you thought about Revelation before we get back into it.
The history of the
your relationship with MOTU.
Oh my God, my relationship with MOTU. Wow, geez,
it's complicated.
We go way back.
Just a big tough questions. I caught MOTU after the fact. I came to the country in like 85 or 86, so everything was like about Thundercats back then, and I had to catch MOTU. I had to go back and catch MOTU, and I caught MOTU because I love the Conan the Barbarian movies, and I was like, oh, this is kind of like Conan, but it's like with like sci-fi stuff, and so I got heavily into that. And I always loved the bad guys. I love Skeletor. I love like all the bad guys. They're just so, I don't know, it was just such a fun property. And I always stuck with it. I went through 2000X. I'm giving you guys a long, boring answer probably. 2000X.
You're fine.
Yeah. I did a deep dive a few years back on Filmation. And I was like, wow, this is really like drug-induced animation. Like this is these storylines are crazy. But there's something, I don't know. I've always loved the aesthetic. I love like the pink skies and there's something I really loved about the aesthetic and the box art. And I actually wouldn't mind seeing, I don't know if you guys in the mini comics, He-Man, it's like, he belongs to like a tribe. You know what I mean? It's like a real simple story.
It's like, very Conan.
It's very Conan. I would love to see somebody do that version of He-Man. And again, there's nothing that would fit in the current Revelation. But I would love like a stripped down He-Man where it's just like, he's like a barbarian and he's like, there's like demons on the land. And like, those were the comics. They were very like simple. And I really loved those comics. And So that takes us to here. Boring answer to 2023.
No,
What
it's
did I like?
2024.
2020. Sorry, 2024. All right.
Don't
I-
drag us back
Really?
to us. No.
I know. Man,
Not even-
I'm really late. I'm from the year 2023, Marty. I really, so I just finished Revolution, whichever one. It was so good. It was brilliant, as they say. The animation is so good, and it was just a lot of fun. Was that the answer to the question? Or was that did I
well,
bring
like-
us up to here?
Yeah.
Ashton answered.
I was
Kayla's like,
mostly
yeah,
asking
bro.
about Revelation, so like the first 2 parts.
Oh, the first.
Before this. Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't know how much I remember. I liked it. I didn't have as many criticisms as people have. That was a very divided. That was a very divided series for whatever reason, and I don't know.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, there's a lot of like. The way I usually go is when I watch a show, I can always go back to the thing that I like. So meaning, like, let's say I watch like Die Hard. Like Die Hard's like one of my favorite action movies, right? Just because like I might not like Die Hard 5, and I'm not saying I didn't like Revelations. I actually did. But like it's like you can go back to Filmation then. Like you don't have to like I don't get my temperament doesn't like I don't go through like swings where it's just like this is like a thing that I don't agree with. Now looking back at Revelations, there was a lot of setup that needed to be done. I don't want to spoil anything. Can we like talk a few spoilers here? Like not on Revelations, but on on the first season, or what's the? I don't
You
want
can talk about Revelation. For Revolution, we're trying to keep it to up to episode 3.
Up to episode 3. I saw them all, by the way, and now I don't remember which is episode 3. So I'm going to be very.
That's the problem
Well,
that I do.
we
Dang,
just started,
already-
and I'll be explaining scene by scene, so it'll help
Yeah.
you remember. But I will say at the end of the episode, is when the horde arrives and the magic is blocked and Grayskull is taken over. So if that
Okay,
helps give you an end point,
That helps a little
of
bit.
episode 3. Yeah.
That helps a little bit.
Mhm.
Now going back to like Revelations, it's clear that there was a lot of setup that had to be done because
Yeah.
that's like a big story. That's a
Yep.
the Revolution story is a big story that encompasses literally Eternia plus heaven plus hell plus wherever
Yep.
Hordak is from.
Yep.
And so there's a lot, like it takes one season just to get to that. And I think that that's why everything had to sort of like be pieced together and the way, just the way it is. My biggest criticism that I had on Revolution on the first season is that it was more
Revelation.
like a pacing thing. It
Yeah,
was just
yeah.
like, there was like a lot. And I usually, I have this in a lot of shows where it's like shows that like jump around a lot. It sometimes it like can disconnect you a little bit. I think my issue with the first season it was that there was just a lot of jumping around. There was like a lot of moving from like heaven to hell and to I know they don't call it heaven and hell. I forgot Preternia.
Yeah.
Something.
Preternia and Subternia.
Yeah, and you had three. Your main characters were Prince Adam / He-Man, Tila, Andra, and then there was a lot of time given. Evelyn. Evelyn was basically a protagonist / antagonist. So there was a lot of like main characters, but now looking back, I'm like, I think that's why they had to like jump around and like and do that to execute something like what they did, because once like Revelation started, it just went. It was just like
Revolution.
like it was like a narrative rocket ship. So like
how I remember it is Revelay, like E and A come before O, and Revolution. So
Got it.
Revelation is first, Revolution second.
Right.
That's how I remember it. If
Okay,
that helps.
you don't have to be mean. I mean,
I'm not trying to help you remember.
I'm doing my best. Okay.
It's not my fault they made the names so similar.
Alphabetical order.
Yes.
Yeah. Alphabetical. Revel.
That's what she's breaking down.
Yeah. I wish like now what I want to do is I want to go back and watch Revelations again, knowing what I know. Do you know what I mean? Is just to kind of see that, because I mean, what are we talking about? Like 2 years ago, I barely, dude. I like movies I watched a month ago. I'm like not remembering it, but I could probably be a lot more like, I don't know, like specific on things if I were to see it. But I remember that there
Just
was a lot of setup.
that you liked it.
Yeah, there was a lot of and there was a lot of setup. There was a lot of like jumping around. My favorite character I remember was I really liked Evelyn. First of all, Lena, I'm gonna get her name wrong. Hetty is the perfect Evelyn. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And like her character was so cool. I bought all the Evelyn action figures, not flexing, but I got them all. I got regular Evelyn, meat and potatoes Evelyn. I got I'm looking at it right now, Cat Evelyn or Bat Evelyn, and I got like Super Saiyan 4 Evelyn at the end. But I thought that her character was probably like the most interesting. I will say this, okay? It may be because I'm such like a Batman animated series like loyalist guy, but like every time I hear can we curse here? Is it okay? Like
yes.
Every time I hear Mark Hamill's fucking voice doing that thing, I keep thinking of the Joker, and I keep like going back. I can't get it out of my head, and I'm just like, I don't know if it takes anybody out like it takes me out. I've
seen a lot of people say that as well, that he sounds too much like the Joker, so you're not alone.
I remembered that was a thing, so when this season came out, and did they reveal in the season 3 talk about okay,
I don't know.
Maybe
I don't know what you're gonna say.
Exactly, it just depends on what you're gonna say.
I don't
we've talked about Keldor, Skeletor.
So they do reveal Keldor okay. That's
they
all
reveal
I was saying.
Keldor exists.
Okay,
they reveal that it was
that
there was a disguise thing going on, but they haven't revealed anything more than that.
Oh my god, I'm gonna fucking spoil it for people. It's gonna be. I should stop talking. Yes, but the answer to your question. Did I answer your question, Kayla?
I think so.
Sorry, I'm like literally. I
just
came from Walgreens and I just ran up and turned this on and had computer problems.
You're good.
If I'm all fucking frenetic, that's why. But yeah,
you're fine. The only thing we've talked about so far is the first scene of this episode, where we're on the Horde ship and Hordak has Stondar killed, and Motherboard comes on, and that's when Hordak tells Skelly that Keldor was actually based on truth, and Skelly was like, what? I did not know that. So that's the only thing we've talked about so far. So on to the next scene. We are back at Snake Mountain, and Mommy gets mad at Skelly for interrupting their FaceTime date, and throws him across the room. And these Keldor memories come back to him.
Yeah, you go.
I totally related to that though. Every time I've been in a business meeting and some dude has interrupted me so he could like make
poor man.
It's like, what the get the fuck out of here, Carl. Anyway.
Carl.
I was just like, yeah, Motherboard, go girl. Anyhow.
Which I thought it was interesting, kind of like a role reversal of Evil Lynn in Revelation, with how much Skelly was abusing Evil Lynn. And then, now he's put in that role, which granted, this is a very small taste of what Evil Lynn had to go through. I thought it was an interesting role reversal that we were seeing with that.
I said it last time, and I always say it, hurt people. And so Skeletor learned this, and I think we'll eventually learn a little bit more about where Skeletor learned this, because I totally hear what you're saying about maybe it was just a fraction of what Evil Lynn did, but I think as we start to figure out what Skeletor went through and maybe what exactly Groomer Hordak was doing. I don't know. I think there's an argument to be made for Keldor / Skeletor. So
I just no. I just can't get past the fact that he has no skin, and I have pictured Evelyn and him kissing with like tongues and stuff.
Fair
And
enough. But hey, don't hate on her kink. Maybe she's into
Yeah,
it.
no yucking yums. Allison.
I love that you were totally thinking about it and pondering
Yeah,
it. So
you
thank
were.
you for that. Yes, thank you for opening your mind for just that 30 seconds.
I'm gonna throw
So-
alcohol in my mouth now.
So there's a part in this scene where Keldor says to Skeletor, Motherboard did something in our brain. So there is a living, fleshy brain rattling around in that skull still. Somehow. But he's got muscles and blue skin, so
And no
it's got to
skin.
be. It's the
magic.
Oh, Jesus Christ! It's got to be brick exactly magic. It's got to be something with the havoc power that his, and I'm just thinking. I wonder, probably not with the technological alterations to the skull because he's got the like LED eye now and the plates. But I almost just thought, well, maybe havoc, maybe the skull is just an illusion from the havoc. Maybe it's not actually his skull. Maybe his flesh didn't actually melt away. It just changed the appearance of his head so it looks like a skull.
Oh, like in DC Comics with Mr. Bones, where his skin is just translucent. Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
Hatter, did you have any thoughts on this scene?
On the scene when where motherboard chumps out Skeletor?
She gets mad at him, and that's when his inner voice of Keldor comes out, and he's like, you're me, I'm you.
Well, the way I took it, did I understand it right? Where because she wounded him, or she unlocked when she bruised him or something, like
she
that's what
squeezed his head.
She squeezed his head. It's
gave
like
him the iron claw.
Yeah, she gave him the iron. Yeah, there's a horror movie that does that, where some woman, she's getting abused by her husband, and he like slams her against the wall, and that unlocks this. It's called Malignant, and that unlocks this fucking thing. And it reminded me of that, where it's like I like that as the reasoning for is that the question, like just why he starts to unlock like the Keldor of it all.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Because like Motherboard was already a part of him, and I was wondering if that was what unlocked it, but I was like, no, he would have started to see Keldor sooner or hear Keldor sooner. So yeah, I think it was that squeezing of his brain. But
yeah, I do have a question about Motherboard, but now I'm thinking it might be a spoiler. Like I'm really trying to fucking tiptoe here, but like I'm not like
if you're thinking about her head in general, that's not this episode.
Her head.
Yeah, we have to save the Gwyneth Paltrow commentary for later.
Oh, that wasn't what I was thinking, but sure.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. It's probably. You said Hordak already's in the picture, right? In this.
Yeah.
Hordak's in the picture.
I'll play it safe. I won't.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, if by the end of the episode, if it is in here, feel free to say it.
Hey, come on, chat people! Can you fucking just watch the movie so you can just be free here? What happened?
All right. So the next scene, we're at Dark Smoke, and Tila has.
Real quick before moving on, I wanted to say. The whole glitch thing, like I don't exactly know what happened, but I really I like the dialogue in here where he like clearly says Skeletor is really Keldor in the full-on Shatner voice, and again, it's just like I got to go back to the decision to make it a completely different voice to hide William Shatner's casting from this whole thing too. I thought was really great, and he says something about a fissure has been closed or something. So I like that malignancy reference because it's something definitely got jolted. And I'll keep going back to what I started laying down in the last episode, that like the Horde and Hordak found Skeletor on Eternia a long time ago. And clearly now we're learning that or we're starting to get a sense here that maybe they messed with his mind, right? And repressed him and repressed memories and all of this stuff. My big question is why? Like, he was with you supposedly, like, presumably he joined you, presumably. Why did Hordak feel the need to have to trick him and fool him into doing this stuff? So just want to leave that out there, because I have big questions about where this whole story could go later, particularly with Keldor and Skeletor. So
I thought it was oh God, I don't want to say.
Oh no, I feel like we've handcuffed Ada.
Okay. I thought I had to guess why he did that, but now I feel like I'm going to spill. Did they already do the flashback? Like the
No,
not yet, not quite yet.
It's coming. There's a couple flashbacks, but the first flashback is coming. So why don't maybe you go there?
We'll just keep going. Just keep it.
Hey, how cool was William Shatner though?
Mm-hmm.
How awesome was he as Keldor?
He's really good.
He's really good.
I thought that was actually a really nice move, because
I think as a voice actor, you can't see him inhaling scenery when he hams it up. So I was appreciative. My notes literally say, "Wow, he's literally acted his way out of that paper bag finally."
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a big fan of his acting, but there's something in this that was like, there's an arrogance and a taunting that happens, while also kind of like he's calling him back, because
I thought he was very subtle in this.
It was actually good act. I was really in general, there was a lot of good acting. Like whoever.
Also, Allison, you have notes. What the fuck?
Yes,
they all do.
We all have notes.
They have notes.
Like
I didn't come prepared with nobody. I blame Kayla. She didn't tell me to come prepared with notes.
I didn't say you had to bring notes. You can do whatever you want to do. I just have a shit memory. So
there's a note here.
And I also have to.
Kayla says Hatter might be there, and I'm like, note. Ask him about off screen about Flip War. Anyway.
Oh yes, that's right. That's a great note.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yes.
No, I've got ideas.
We'll talk about that after.
Great.
I was like, oh yes, excellent.
Yes, I'm gonna cheat off you.
Yeah,
you're good.
If I didn't have to say the scenes by scenes, I probably wouldn't do the notes. So yes, next scene, speaking of, is at Dark Smoke, and Teela, as we talked about last episode, has become Snake Teela, aka Green Goddess, and kind of fights with Evil Lyn, which Evil Lyn's definitely trying to, work on the Ka in her. And Teela denies her feelings for Adam. And my first note for this scene is Evil Lyn literally calls her a bait and switch, which I thought was just so funny, because so many people complained about that with Revelation, with the bait and switch of He-Man dying and then Teela and Evil Lyn being like the main focus of the show. So I'm curious if they, put that in there on purpose.
Can I just say something just about the bait and switch of it all? If you look at it now, you had to introduce the concept of what was hell called? Subternia? Subternia. And then you had heaven, which was, whatever.
Pre-Eternia.
Pre-Eternia. Okay.
Like a Valhalla, yeah.
So you needed, again, maybe it's the writer in me, and maybe it's me just trying. It bugs me a little bit that that people are like, wait, he died. You needed an entry point character to take you into heaven and into hell. So and you know that now, because so that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes you have to watch like the whole thing to understand, because like
what a concept.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, exactly. It's like, and again, like I do still agree that it jumped around a lot, but like I think the reason it wasn't just a shock value thing. I think you needed to go through to understand. Like if he had just died and he was just gone for the whole whatever season or whatever, he never came back, then I understand. But like. You need an entry point character to take you through heaven and hell and understand, because I'm like a He-Man fan, and even I was like, what, Subternia, like I didn't go that fucking deep. So I think just another thing where it is important to look back and understand sometimes the seedlings. I always look at it like Game of Thrones. First season of Game of Thrones, notoriously people were like, it's very boring. Okay. And lots of notes. And even I kind of like checked out. I almost checked out of Game of Thrones on the first like 3 episodes. I'm like, where the fuck is this going? But you start realizing very soon, that the first season is basically all set up for what happens at the end of the first season, which is the catalyst of the whole show. So in this regard, I think that like while it may have been fun for some people to episode 1, season 1, He-Man just starts fighting and just is kicking ass. I think when you have like a longer game, I think now it's clear that it's important to kind of see the whole fucking thing, is what I'm saying, because they're not making this up as they go, clearly. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah.
What a
Before
concept.
we get too much farther, when I said that Keldor memories come back, I meant the flashback as well that's included in that scene. So we can talk about that flashback now.
Are you talking about? Are you talking about little kid flashback? I want to
mix. There's a mix of everything is kind of mixed in. So it's what you're thinking, I think, Hatter.
Okay.
Unleashed.
Okay. Yeah.
You're unleashed. Go.
Yeah, they're unleashed. No. So what were we talking about? So what were we saying that? Well, okay. Remind me, like, because we were talking about Hordak manipulating him, and why. As far as I understood, did they not have and again, this might end up with an emotional catharsis for Keldor, but as far as I saw in that flashback, they were pretty close, Keldor and Randor. And so I would think that you would have to fuck with him in order to get him to turn on Eternia, because he's the son of Eternia. They don't show him as like an evil little Smurf guy. Like they clearly establish him as like he's connected to his brother. So that has to be part of it from an emotional perspective. It has to be part of it that Hordak might be like, hey, I'm going to. It's like the Manchurian candidate or whatever. It's like it's like I have to put the bug in your head that the people you grew up with are your enemies. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with She-Ra. She-Ra, like, for her whole life grew up under, like, he did this. It's the same fucking thing with She-Ra. He kidnaps. Again, this is not a spoiler for Revelations. This is just what happens.
Go for it.
So is that like he kidnaps Adora and he raises her, as a villain, and now with her he didn't have to make her forget because she was a baby. He just raised her and he was like, hey, Eternia is your enemy and all these people are your fucking enemy, right? And then she comes back and she has no idea she has a brother. She has no idea. I would think that because Keldor had a good relationship with Randor, this and that, I think it would behoove him to like shut all that shit out and just create another identity for him, like the fucking Memento. Just give him another identity that you're a villain and you came from wherever. Who knows? The fucking demon pit. That's my theory. Maybe there's another reason he did it, but like it seemed like they were close, at least in that flashback.
I'm with some of the things that you laid down there, especially in naming that. Like, look, there was no reason to believe that Keldor was, willing to kill his, whatever, like hurt his brother or their family or any of that. But we don't know. And I think intentionally they've left this big gap in the Keldor story to raise some doubt. And I think I will tell you what we do know that's been projected huge is that Skeletor's a bad guy, period. And so if we're just going to operate on that, we're going to like go, look, yeah, he's just a bad guy. He's just a bad guy. But they already kind of showed us that like that wasn't always the case. So there was like a comic book prequel to Revelation that sort of spelled out who he was. And like at least what was revealed there, which I had a hard time with when I read, was that he came from a planet of other people. Skeletor came from a planet of a bunch of other people that had skull heads. Like that was what his people looked like. And he had a wife and they had a kid and they were enslaved, and his slave masters killed his wife and his kid, something like that. Sorry, it's a little hazy. So he rose up and fought back, And then, a little bit more ensues. But in this story, he was the big hero savior of these skull-headed people.
Okay.
Now that we know, though, that his mind was messed with, Hordak put those memories in his head, right? So there was definitely a mind wipe that completely erased any memory of Randor, Miro, anything. And so to fast forward in the flashback, can we talk about the content of the flashback now? Like it's time, right?
Yes.
Not only do we find out that he is in fact Keldor, but there's a scene where we see him fighting in the Fright Zone of all places, right? Which is dope play set from back in the day. And we see Hordak like having this conversation around, magic. Like there's this feeling that like he tells him that magic is always like is inferior to tech. It's a cheat. And he wants him to believe that and know that. But hey, I'm going to teach you to use magic. I think that's bullshit. I think he can't use magic himself. So he needs to use other magic users to do the thing for him because he needs it, I think, to actually get whatever he's trying to get on Eternia. Because as I kind of said later, like this was totally long game. The conquering of Eternia seems like a huge horde long game because we saw, what was the name of the planet? Sorry, I gave you justice earlier.
Geolon.
Geolon. The beginning of this episode, Geolon's like real simple. Bunch of ships, blow it up, we conquer a planet. Why couldn't they do that with Eternia? I think there's a reason that we're going to find out. It has something to do with magic. And so instead they had to go through this big long con and find the brother of the king and like mess with his head. And then to fast forward to the other, of course we see his face melt off. But then there's the baby scene. Holy this was what I was hoping to see. The hint, or maybe more, that Adora exists in this reality, that maybe, that potentially She-Ra's in play, because we see Hordak going out of seemingly like a window into the night, turn behind, and then we see the interior shot, and the first shot you see is actually Skeletor's face, and then it flashes back to Keldor, and I really want folks to look back at it, because Skeletor doesn't look mean, angry, like he's yelling, like, you buffoon, whatever. He looks sad. Like, he looks worried and sad that whatever's happening, he's looking at Hordak taking this baby. I suspect that, like, he was totally being used, and I don't think he wanted to do any of that stuff. Maybe. That might be revealed. Because you see him being arrested by the guards, and maybe he's sad because Hordak screwed him over and left him to get arrested. But I'm wondering if he maybe in that moment is like, oh crap, what's going on here? Like there's more. And then of course I'll let other folks talk about what else is in that flashback, because there's a lot of good stuff in that flashback. But I'm just picking up off of something that you put in my head around the relationship with Keldor and Randor, and how it would seem weird for him to suddenly just hate on Randor.
Yeah, I like that the flashback was kind of, it was like a little bit of a cheat. They couldn't, they didn't show her, but she was there. I think that's all. I think that's also them saying like, hey, give us the rights for She-Ra, because look, we're setting shit up, and we got plans. I like that theory, and I think that's congruent with what's happening. It's like you see him just holding something, and it could be one of those things. Like, look, obviously Hordak wants something from Eternia, okay, because he has a million ships, and he could just fucking invade at any time. I think it doesn't behoove him to do that. I think what probably happened, which I think Brick is congruent with what you're saying, is he probably, wanted to install a trusted person in the beginning, which was Keldor, to, like manipulate him, have him be the villain, and find out whatever magic secret he can't find out, because he's all tech, right? So he needs a guy. He needs to basically send a guy onto Eternia. Then maybe what happened is maybe Keldor failed. Maybe he failed the mission. You know what I mean? Like you fucked up
earlier.
So that might be why he's like, you know what? I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to do the Thanos thing. and I'm gonna jump in and I'm gonna take like, you weren't good enough as like the brother of the king, so you're out. Now I'm taking the daughter, and then maybe that's the extension of the plan. Now, if the Adora plan is still in play, then why? When is she coming? If that's the game, then this hinges. You know what? I was going to say something that's right at the end, but I'm not going to say that. But anyway, yeah, it's like a long. It's like installing like a fucking sleeper cell in Eternia,
Yep, I
and
think
and
so.
then
Yep.
and then that doesn't work. And when that doesn't work, it's like he might have even told like Skeletor, like, "Hey man, I'm coming now, and I'm getting the girl." And he's like, "No, don't fucking do that, okay?" Because maybe he didn't care. Maybe he's like, "No, this is like maybe something about him was still like." I don't want to fuck my brother over that much. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like, I please don't do that. And then Ordak's like, fuck you. I'm coming and I'm doing it anyway. And who knows? Like, maybe, you know, if he is like truly like a sympathetic villain and not like a, you know, Hordak is, I doubt, is a sympathetic villain. Hordak to me reads like a Thanos type. He's just like, I got to conquer.
Yeah.
I gotta get, you know, but if they're making Skeletor like I'm a
big plan,
sympathetic villain,
big
then,
picture.
yeah.
Exactly. And I don't want to spoil anything later because we do see some stuff and there's some lines I think that might actually speak to whether or not we're meant to be super sympathetic for Keldor / Skeletor or not. But that's like later in in later episodes. But definitely look at this image that Johnny just brought up. And I don't know if you may have noticed.
And it's really important though to remember that in the original Filmation story for She-Ra, Skeletor and Hordak were going to steal both of the babies. Hordak grabbed Adora, and Skeletor went to grab Adam and Man-at-Arms, and the Royal Guard prevented Skeletor from grabbing the baby.
Yeah.
And then that's the only reason the twins were separated. And then the Sorceress of Grayskull stepped in and cast a spell so that everyone but herself, King Randor, Queen Marlena, and Man-at-Arms forgot that Adora ever existed.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on that's the original story. So depending on what they adapt, to me, this little kernel that we get seems really faithful to that.
Right.
We've got Skeletor imprisoned. We've got Marlena. This is, I think somebody said it in chat. This is really this is a modern update of like the Filmation from that sequence. So I don't think they're going to even with the rights issue, technically the Princess of Eternia, she may not be able to be called Adora, but he can have a twin sister. He just
all the rights stuff. Yeah, we can definitely talk about it, but I understand it, but I will just say like, well, actually, let me pause on that and I'll come back to it. Let's talk about this because the people in the chat definitely are noticing. There's some stuff in this picture right here that everyone needs to see. So you're highlighting.
Is that a cringer?
Let's look at their toy collection.
Is that a toy cringer or a baby cringer?
It's a toy. I think it's a stuffy, just like the other stuffy in front of the other crib of a pink-tailed unicorn.
Which there's a unicorn, like unicorn stick thing in the back too.
In the very back, as well as a Castle Grayskull.
Oh yeah.
So like these babies, just for whatever reason, like whether that's an in-universe thing or a nod from the writers, hey, there's two babies in here. So like, even if, because at first people were like, well, they kind of hid the baby, so you don't actually know if actually they were taking a baby because like you don't see the baby and they could maybe play that off later. It's like, no, actually, if you look at this, we know there were two babies. We see Adam a second ago and he's in Marlena's arms.
Yep.
There's two cribs, both are fallen over. One baby's missing. One crib has a green cat next to it. The other has a white unicorn, again, very much like Swiftwind. And again, I look at Skeletor, and maybe Skeletor's like bummed that he got caught. Maybe Skeletor's bummed that he got sold out by the dude who like set him up for this thing. Or maybe he didn't realize that was part of the plan, or maybe who knows, right? I'm going to stand by the potential that maybe there's some complex feelings on the part of Keldor, which is why I think Hordak felt ultimately, in order to make their plan work, they needed to wipe his mind. And to like Allison's thing about the mind wipe, yeah, in the original story, it was the sorceress who did it. It could still be here, but to go back to our last talk, I was kind of pretending as if I hadn't seen the rest of the show, and kind of raised like, "Hey, you're talking about, your son. This was his death scene, Randor's death scene, and it's like, dude, why aren't you going to bring up your daughter? That's messed up.
Yeah.
But what if they were mind wiped too?
Now.
Yeah.
Like, what if they were all mind wiped? And again, because of this, whatever long game is, like, he can't just go in and take over Eternia the way he took over other places. He needed something. And if you know what Adam is, and if you know what Adora are, and how special they are to Eternia, it kind of it might start coming together. So,
well, if they're all royals, that could be part of the plan.
That too.
Keldor and Adora, that's the thing they have in common, and Adam, right? Like, maybe it's the thing with like royal blood, like you got to be part of this lineage in order to unlock whatever thing. Because why doesn't he then get anyone? Why not anybody? Why not Beastman be the leader of the? You know what I mean? So that's I would think that it has something to do with that. Or that image is setting up MOTU babies, maybe that's like imagine that MOTU baby. Imagine like a fucking spin-off. That'd be fantastic.
Because the only thing more messed up than She-Ra rights are the Muppet Babies rights. So
I would totally get down with the MOTU babies done like Muppet Babies, and the nanny can be the sorceress.
Oh, dude! Imagine like a little beast man, and he's just like,
little beast
what
man.
What kind of socks would sorcerers wear? Sorry. Anyways,
good question. Yeah.
They would be orange and blue, whatever they were. One last Easter eggy thing is the crib. Tells you what I think about babies. Anyway, the crib for Adora, like if you look at that blanket and the little pillow in it, they're very close to the bed sheet and the pillow from the vintage Princess of Power Crystal Castles.
Oh, that's awesome.
Man.
Yeah, it's the same shade
Allison
of like
know
purpley pink.
You know what?
Only Allison would know that, and other nerds, and Mattel would know that. No way.
Exactly.
Like they made very clear decisions when they did this.
Yeah.
If we were ever in a room with anyone involved in this production, we need to grill them on this.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I wonder if we will.
If only I had my Crystal Castle set up for tonight, I would break it out. And it's still
Next
in the
time. Next time. Any other thoughts on the flashbacks? This has been fascinating to hear everyone's thoughts on it, because I mean, it didn't really mean that much to me. So it's very interesting hearing.
It's a big deal.
We're making sure we
big
keep
capital deal.
Yep. Big deal. Randomly, the floor looks like what do you call those things? The viewfinder. Anyways.
Yes.
Viewmaster.
And the picture changes.
But yes. But also on the rights thing, real quick. If we were going to move on, let me just throw this out there. On the question of She-Ra, do we have the rights, etc. At the end of the day, I'll just throw out there that none of us really knows. And I've said this in a couple of different places, and I just want to keep throwing it out in the universe. That, like, two things. One, if you're writing a thing and you can't even get this close and hint at something that could potentially violate some rights issues. So my thinking is, so that people will say, well, no, they have an out because they never actually said it was Dora. Fine, let's play out that scenario. Let's say they don't. They create a new one. They didn't get the rights. What are they going to change it and say, like, oh, yeah, no, it was actually another baby named Adeline. Like, how upset would people be? That would just be like, I don't know how you play that off. Number two, and like I said, I don't think any lawyers would even let you get this close. Your counsel would say, no, stay super far away from She-Ra. You're not allowed. So my sense is, the second scenario, because we don't know, anything can happen. Any deal can happen as long as both parties are cool with it. And if we look at the context of who holds these rights right now, we saw what happened to Revelation. I loved it, but it created all this controversy that supposedly, like, people say, most people hated it. I disagree because I don't know the numbers. Some people hated it. Some people liked it. That said, it's already got like a little bit of a stain on it. The CGI show didn't last past what it did. Like that ended. And those were like their two big things. There was a live action movie in the works, and that is kind of in this weird development limbo, etc. She-Ra, DreamWorks, that didn't catch the world on fire at Netflix. I loved it, but again, it never.
Damn, Johnny.
It didn't make the big money that maybe whoever's holding She-Ra's rights maybe wanted. So they're
Did it not do well? I didn't see
well,
it.
I thought it did fine, but I don't think it like there's no sequel. They didn't continue it, and you know. So if I were in this position of like, hey, these things, like as much as we say we love them, we really need to find another way to make a big splash. How big of a splash would it be to actually bring the two properties back together? So again, you're probably like, folks are really like, well, that's impossible. That would never happen. But I think Adam's picking up my vibe, which is there was a time when we never thought we would see Spider-Man in the MCU, but somehow that happened. Right.
Somehow
So
Palpatine returned.
Yeah, deals can be made. Like we don't know. So I'll just leave it at that because I don't want to like, yeah, I'll just throw that out there. Again, you don't hint this big if you're not going there. And imagine if they were like hinting even more.
You think they have like an ace up their sleeve and like
I think they're ready.
I hope so.
I think they're ready. And I think that again, speaking to earlier why they had 5 sorry, this was before you were on, but why they ended up doing 5 episodes versus 10. And we kind of said, or I was saying that like I think it's good that it was 5 because people could watch the whole thing pretty quickly and get through the whole thing and get like this flashback and anything else that comes later to be like, oh crap, I want to know what's up with that. And
what's up with that?
I will just say, if you're teasing the reunion of Adora and Adam and She-Ra and He-Man, even as a tiny possibility, you got to be some kind of MOTU fan. If you're going like, nah, I hate it, so I want this thing to die, even though they're promising She-Ra and He-Man.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, I hate it, but I want to see what's next. So yeah.
It's also important to remember, like, because the DreamWorks She-Ra did well. It's just Netflix doesn't renew anything over like 5 to 6 seasons because it gets too expensive.
Fair. Yeah.
That's when everyone can renegotiate contracts where they're going to ask for more money. This is why you see almost every Netflix series now end at like 4 or 5 seasons because they're not going to pay more than that. The rights for something like She-Ra for He-Man, like, it's expensive because Netflix and DreamWorks may have a deal, but they still have to pay. Basically, Netflix still has to pay some money to like have those shows. So, you know, like they're not going to renew anything. She-Ra did really well for the time, but it's been too long now. The kids that loved it have moved on, and that's the problem with media right now. Like, hopefully Netflix gets that. We're all really excited right now about MOTU. They need to make something happen fast so that we see
like real fast.
Yeah, I think they probably get one more season, 2 at the most, and they got to just wrap it up. Like if She-Ra is going to be a thing, they just gotta. I think the dream of like this being like 10 seasons. Yeah, I agree with you. It's not going to happen. There's no. Because you're right. The more this gathers, it's got to be like Stranger Things type success to validate to Netflix that.
And even that,
sure.
They're only giving
even that they'll fucking cut off. So
yeah, I mean, Stranger Things is on what, season 5 now, and it's the last season they're gonna do. Like, because everyone's gonna renegotiate if they do a season 6.
Yeah.
Super nerdy. Hear me out. MOTU Revelation, MOTU Revolution, MOTU Reunion.
Ooh, you got the in there.
I want.
I know everyone's speculating what the next
I want
will be.
MOTU Retribution, where they fucking He-Man and She-Ra go from world to world and destroy them.
I like that too, but yeah. Anyway, just throwing it out there. Yeah. I'm just gonna say, like, it was a big baller move to even hint at Adora, and I don't think you do that without the rights.
Unless there's, I would agree that there's a little kernel of there's a little hope. But is that from Star Wars?
Revolutions are born.
I literally said something similar to Yoko today about hope, and I was like, "Is that from Star Wars?" We just think that all the Hope quotes are from Star Wars now.
There is another. Oh my god, I want to talk about the last episode so fucking bad. Holy shit.
Exactly.
Well, if you want to come on
But yes,
Friday.
exactly.
I do have to
Welcome.
wonder if
Kayla did this on
Netflix were
purpose.
not to pick up another season, is it something they could potentially shop around to another streamer and finish elsewhere?
The quote I was thinking of is, "Hope is like the sun. If you only believe in it when you can see it, you'll never make it through the night." It's not quite applicable, unfortunately. Sorry.
But revolutions are, what is it? Something born on hope or something on hope? That's Jin Urso.
Rebellions.
Oh, it's rebellions. Never mind.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Fake Star Wars fan. Moving on.
Rebellion and
Rebellions?
redemption.
That's a
Maybe
good one.
redemption.
Yeah,
I don't
that
know.
would be great.
What about
There's so
MOTU
many.
Revolver? And
Or
you gotta
we
you gotta
could
be
have
R-E-V.
You'd have like Slash and no, that's another thing. Sorry.
MOTU regurgitation, where they just reboot everything and get the same shitty story we've gotten before.
I like that.
Yay.
Allison, I'm with you. I'm with you. On
regurgitation. Let's
fucking make that happen.
Anyway, we've gotten way off track. Love y'all, but we need to get back onto the episode because Johnny's gonna have to leave soon. So any other quick thoughts on the scene right after the flashbacks with Dark Smoke and Tila and Evelyn? And Tila's like, I don't have feelings for Adam. And, Evelyn also was like, oh, well, He-Man always liked me. And had a very nice quote that I will leave for That's What They Said on Friday. Any other quick thoughts on that before the next scene?
I thought the whole Kayla He-Man thing was resolved at the end of Revelations when they held hands. Like they literally held hands at the end of it. Like, what the F are we doing backtracking? Should have been together already. Two, I love that they go back to the early Wave 2 mythology where like they sort of implied Evelyn had the hots for He-Man and she was jealous of Tila. Those are my thoughts.
Cool. Anyone else?
I don't think I have anything to add. Can I just say though that Snake Tila, aka Green Goddess Tila, is going to be like the #1 figure that's just always made. Like that's going to be. As soon as I saw that, I told my wife, I was like, that design is going to be used 1,000,000 times from now on. You're going to see that. You can see 1,000,000 action figures on that fucking design. It's Tila because for some reason people love the Snake Tila. I have like an origin Snake Tila. I don't really like it, but this is like a snake plus Green Goddess type Tila. And the design work. I don't know who this fucking studio is, but their design work is fucking great.
Powerhouse.
It's
I'm
Powerhouse.
a little annoyed because Mondo made a Skeletor in that style, and that's it. They never made anything else, and I have it. I'm looking at it. It's beautiful. It's a cel-shaded Skeletor. They never made a He-Man. I don't know what's like. I don't understand. Like, why isn't this show generating more? I guess it's the action figure collector in me, but like, I hope that this does well enough that we can get some more of that because a lot of the designs are really fucking cool. I'm in love with the look of the show. Save a few things. There are, mostly I'll say there's a few things, and to me they were in the end of the season. I was like, I don't really like that design, and there's a specific character who's real big, who I don't know. I love his Filmation version more, but for the most part, I think they knocked it out of the park. And now I have context from Motherboard too, which is cool because I got that Motherboard at Comic-Con. I was like, I don't even know what this character is. I just bought it on looks alone. And now I'm like, okay.
Same.
You got it too. That's right.
I literally didn't know anything. You had seen Revelation, and she's at the end where I did not.
I know,
I was
but that's
just like,
all they gave you. Yeah, that's right.
It was like a quick glance.
Yeah.
But that's all we had.
That's all we had. And we
they
spent
definitely
the money at SDCC just based off that. Like fucking suckers. It is nice.
Worth it.
Really nice.
And like, we said it last show that there's people that were like kind of complaining about her, and I'm like, she's literally copy and paste from the show. Like, what else do you want?
Oh, complaining about that figure?
Yeah.
I don't know what complaints are. She's
Exactly. Like even her joints look exactly the same. Like I don't know. Anyways,
You know what though? I can see a company making like a real high-end motherboard. Like I'm talking about like, like Mattel
ooh,
has like
yeah.
a more toyetic version,
And
but I
could
can see
take the
like,
wings apart.
yeah, like you take the wings apart, or there's like a glow effect. There's
Mhm.
like you could have, if you get like a company that like, not that Mattel's no good, but like a company that's like gonna make like a $200 motherboard. You know what I mean? And you have the
Mhm.
glowing and all that. She could be like a crazy fucking
Mondo.
machine. Yeah,
Hell
yeah,
yeah, I'd
like a
take it.
Mondo or something. Yeah,
Give me some
Mhm.
thigh cuts, some calf cuts, some
yeah.
double jointed
Mhm.
knees and elbows.
Mm.
But Snake, thank you, Curtis, for catching that. Green Goddess. A couple of things on the Green Goddess. Like one, I love that they embraced this piece. Again, I told you one of my favorite parts of this whole thing was going to be the lore, the revelation of Ka, Zoar, and Havoc being sort of the three sources of magic, the old gods, etc., was dope. And the notion that she had to go to a dragon to get the power of Ka, and we see this whole like exchange. That's where we're at, right? Because I'm kind of getting lost, but we're talking about the exchange between Evelyn and Tila and the training montage, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just this two quick things, and they can be explored, I guess, elsewhere. But last night on GDL, Jay and Ted Biaselli, they were talking, and Ted kind of broke down that like each of these gods, again, I love this stuff, was like the notion of, they have this whole like idea of the lore, and the notion of like death. I'm messing this up. Death, destruction, and birth, I believe, is a cycle that each one sort of represents a different thing. I might be messing that up, but I think Zor's life, Ka is death, and Havoc is destruction, I think. And
I think
so
it's birth, life, and destruction.
yeah, birth, life,
Beginning,
and
the middle, and the end.
And potentially life again at the end of
Life
it is
finds a way.
rebirth, which we saw in the last thing when the Phoenix comes back out, right? But the whole snake thing, man, this is dope. They're going back to the original toy that like was gonna kind of be Tila, but not, and the idea that it was actually supposed to be two different characters, and there was a goddess character. And I will say, Nate Barch, Four Horsemen fame, Masterverse artist for a lot of the art, has a special relationship with this character, and really like all of us kind of referring to her as the goddess and the Green Goddess. Just shout out to Nate. And I really just love that they took all of these things and are really giving it to us now. It's like, no, this is like a canon, at least to Revolution and Revelation thing of like, this is a form of Tila where she is using the power of the snake of Ka, and all her powers are dope. The way she sort of moves, and the trigger, because the snake is destruction, right? Is that right? Yeah. And
snake is Havoc is destruction. The ram is destruction.
Death.
Ka is living, carnal desires. Carnal
that's
pleasures.
right. Sorry, I flipped that. You're right. My bad. And the idea of carnal desires. That's where I was going. Yeah, very Satanish, actually. Like the notion that, like, because to some, I think Ted might have even said this. To some, Satan is like pure evil, blah blah blah. Fine, fair enough. But from the perspective of maybe a Satanist, or looking at the perspective of Lucifer and all this, it was about.
Makes me think more of hedonism.
Well, but
Satanism.
But a lot of like folks are like of just carnal pleasure. But yes, hedonism, sure. And so I love that the trigger then is Evelyn kind of like jabbing at her about her relationship with Adam and what she really wants, and like, trying to piss her off while also maybe like getting her to get turned on a little bit or something. Like, all of that was fantastic in the scene.
I mean, there is a fine line between there's a fine line between pleasure and pain, but there's also a fine line between like anger and sexual. And like, I'm into astrology and stuff, and literally Mars is like the ruler of like sex and aggression, and the fact that they're very closely linked. I think there's definitely some overlap there. And that is all I can contribute to that.
Oh, I'm sure it's
Hey,
not. I'm sure.
I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because it is 12:30
Yeah,
a.m.
Johnny's
here
gonna
on the
have to
East
go.
Coast, and
Yeah,
I have
East
to
Coasters.
work in the morning. So I do want to talk a little bit more about. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but Screech outside Castle Grayskull, because Motherboard straight up turned into Screech, and that was friggin' awesome.
I laugh every
and
time
then-
someone says Screech because I think of Dustin. But yes.
And then she walks into Castle Grayskull, and there are murals on the wall. Brick, this is the other thing. There are murals
Yep,
on the wall.
yep.
We see King Grayskull riding on Binatops and Titus on the one side, and then the Techno Titans on the other. And again,
Powers of
major
Grayskull.
Breath of the Wild vibes from
Nice.
that.
Mm.
Like the Titans reminded me of the Guardians, and that mural hieroglyphic thing on the wall of Castle Grayskull made me think of the sigils in Breath of the Wild when they talk about the war that the Guardians were used in originally.
Yep.
So yeah,
I love
lots
that
of Breath of
nerd.
the Wild,
I love
and then
you.
like you were saying, the Cloud Crusher, the new ship that Andrew built, is major vibes from Tears of the Kingdom with the gliders and stuff that you can use in that. So lots of I don't know if it's
Isn't it
someone
also
on the
from Breath of
design
the
team.
Wild, the big bird with rotary things that you fight on?
Oh yeah, the one
That
in
ship is right out of
Gerudo.
Breath of the Wild. That
Mhm.
god that you have to like shut off
Guardian.
like four of its engines.
Yeah,
or
that's
whatever.
the one over the Gerudo village, isn't it? Because it's making the sandstorms in the Gerudo desert.
Nerds.
Now I want to go back and play
Nerds.
Breath of the Wild.
We're geeking
And
the
I-
F out, guys. We're geeking the F out.
Yes, we are.
I'm guessing that version of Grayskull is Castle Horde Skull. That's the best I can think of.
Oh.
Didn't
Okay.
the Giants also remind you of like Evangelion or something? Like
Yeah.
there was
I got-
a lot of like other vibes that were pretty cool.
I
You were
just want
saying
a
they were
choice
neat
of all of
because
them.
they had their own design language. They looked completely different than any of the other techno designs throughout.
Right.
Like
Right.
they felt like they literally came from a different series.
They
which
really
was-
did.
The point
Mhm.
because they're ancient technology and
Yep.
Very cool.
technically lost technology. But with that, I'm going to sign off.
Yeah.
Good night.
Rick,
Sure.
Allison, Hatter, thank you for coming on and talking with us. Feel free to
Sure.
continue, but I gotta go.
Yes. Yep. Go
Peace
sleep.
out.
Go sleep.
Night, John.
Take it easy.
Balloon.
So we have a quick next scene at Eternos where He-Man and Keldor talk, and Keldor convinces He-Man to go take the fight to Skelly. That's pretty much the end of the scene. I don't know if anyone has anything to say about that.
I just have a note that says, "What a rube, He-Man! What a rube!"
It's true.
I
What is
had,
he,
I had the
17,
same I
18?
had the same thought. It was like you get this guy comes in, he's got his story is trust me, bro. Okay.
Yeah.
Trust
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Just
Sure.
trust me.
Yeah, like I
Nephew?
mean, he
Yeah.
really
Like
doesn't have-
there's no proof.
yeah, there's no evidence. It's not like he had like a sigil or
Mm-mm.
something where he's like, I'm Keldor, you know what I mean? And then
Or
very,
he's
very
like
quickly,
tattooed or something.
yeah. And then super quick, he just gets this dumb ox to just like go to fucking Snake Mountain
Dumb.
and like, and then
Cringer.
no, he
No,
meant.
he's talking about He-Man.
I'm talking
Oh,
about He-Man. And then,
oh,
like,
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
big
then,
dumb
like,
ox.
I also had a hard time with, in the time that he was away, this guy basically inoculated all of
Mhm.
Eternia. Like there was like a
Mhm.
weird time jump where he not only convinced Andra that let's do this, like it was
Mhm.
a little convenient where in that time that he was gone, he convinced her let's do this. Let's basically give everybody like steroids. And he indeed gave everyone steroids in that fucking time.
Yeah,
like,
but like,
Essentially.
while he was gone.
but Eternus is like Malibu, and Snake Mountain is in Pasadena. So like, that's about how long.
She's
I appreciate
speaking your language, Hatter.
I appreciate that, but I can still make it back in an hour.
Not
can still-
not at rush hour. It was rush hour.
It was rush hour.
It's always
I
rush
have,
hour.
I
in
have,
LA.
I have my
Shout
bus-
out to my Pasadena fan.
In Pasadena, the only town in California and LA that says "Abandon all hope, ye who enter." Anyway,
I got my
think-
Mustang though.
right? Johnny doesn't have one Mustang. Anyway, He's got a Miata.
He's got a bicycle.
We can go into more of what happens while He-Man's gone in a second. The next scene we have though is Duncan and Orko arrive at Gwildor's and ask him for help with the sword, which as soon as they got there and there was the tiny door, I was like, oh my god, it's a hobbit. And then he literally said, I don't like to go on adventures, and I was like, oh my god, he's literally a hobbit.
Yep.
This is amazing. And there are so many funny short jokes exchanged back and forth, both in this scene and the other scene later on between the two of them. It's just so good. I know there's a lot of like history there and stuff like that, but I will say, as someone who doesn't know any of that, it was a lot of fun. Like, especially if you are a Lord of the Rings fan, like you're just like, this is the Hobbit character in this show. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Go for it, everyone else.
That was very long awaited.
Yep.
That was very. My whole life, people were like, Gwildor and Orko should do. You know, like Gwildor is basically Orko in the movie, and like everybody was just like waiting. Everybody's got crazy fucking lights, by the way. So I feel like I'm.
You could probably do it if you're on an iPhone.
I just see randomly you guys are just like all.
Are you on your iPhone?
Yes, I am, because I couldn't
do
get
like
on my
peace sign or a thumbs up or something. It might work.
Peace
but you gotta
sign
stay still.
there.
You gotta stay still though. No,
Okay, obviously,
not.
I
I think you need to update it.
Anyway,
go ahead. Go ahead.
You,
No, that's
Gwildor
all I'm saying.
Orko.
I was just like, it was people, nerd culture and the masters of the universe have been waiting a very long time for Gwildor and Orko to get to do something together, and I thought that they executed it really well, and I thought everybody had a job to do, which was really, really cool.
Allison, you were breaking down. Was it you breaking down the other day about the movie sort of connection between these? How they didn't want to have. Originally, they were going to have Orko.
Yeah,
right?
but of course, they're the filmation right issue, and also the whole how do you animate that? Like,
Yeah, you couldn't do it.
Dude.
Yep.
Well, you know, you could have done like the land speeder and just put Vaseline on his legs
Sure.
or whatever, or put him on a cart. But that
It's been too expensive.
Way too expensive. So they just got Billy Barty to be short and Gwildor. So but yeah, he was basically Orko, just
I'm surprised that they didn't
same
just
Orko
call him.
role. Well, I think that was kind of cool because then you come to Revolution and you're like Duncan alludes to like you're both very similar, right? You're both short.
Yeah,
There's all this
like,
whole thing that's set up. Clearly, it's like a wink, wink. Like
and
you kind of were the same character.
Sort of Sam and Diane meta thing happening where it's like their bickering is very like, well, they are one thing.
But also thematically,
yeah, really, exactly. That's why I was like, now kiss.
Thematically, though, Orko is magic, and Gwildor is science.
Right, right.
So there's
man
that
of
whole
science,
thing.
man of faith,
and they're putting that stuff together.
The movie did play down a lot of
the dualities, just like the intro to Revolution, the dualities.
Yeah, and even just from the beginning, when it's like they drive that point home, even with a joke where they're knocking on the door, and like Gwildor, you hear Gwildor's voice, and he's like, "Oh, if you're here to preach the good news of Zoar, I'm an atheist." Again, like I'm very much like me. You're your magic people and your weird gods and stuff.
Yeah.
Totally set up. And then there's one line that just made me go, yes. And that's when Duncan is saying to him, hey, do you remember me? I was man at arms back when we traveled across the universe.
Right.
Like, wait a second.
I didn't notice. And
then the car from the movie is in the background. Hello.
Is it really?
Yeah. So it's like
the pussy
and Pighead. I kind of teased it when we were talking about episode 1, but like coming back to it now, and being able to say it, basically the motion picture. Just a reminder, Pighead was in episode 1, and so was Blade.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Revelation. Was in Revelation, and they flew on those discs things, and everybody and their mother said, "Look, this be our final battle," which is all from the movie. Basically, it sounds like all of those things might have happened but as a past
Yeah,
adventure.
some form of the movie is
Some form of those
it's like
events.
some form of filmation is part of the
because
backstory.
because they said we traveled across. It wasn't like, oh, remember we adventured. It's like literally we left this place and went to another universe, right? Across
Yeah.
universes. In the movie, they
It's
go to
kind of a
Earth.
big deal.
Actually,
Right.
specifically, they go to downtown Old Town Whittier, where my mom worked. But anyway,
And they eat barbecue from
Just
Courtney
for
Cox's fast food restaurant. So
yeah. And so I thought that was super cool. Like all of that kind of is pulled into this version of Masters of the Universe. Like everything kind of counts, and I appreciate that.
Sort of sets up the overarching theme of these 5 episodes is, and Orko is magic, Gweldor is science, Hordak is science, Skeletor is magic. Hordak is very anti-science. I mean anti-magic. Gweldor is very anti-magic. You have all these people who are very pro-magic, and then it takes. Well, we won't get that far, but I'm just saying, like, there's a theme.
It's like poetry; it rhymes.
That sort of, like by the end of it, it all wraps up into an overarching theme.
You've said that every episode now.
And so, but it really starts and this episode, it really sort of between Hordak and his like obvious fear and lack of magic, and Gweldor's fear of dislike of and disbelief in magic, plus all the people who do believe in magic, because we have this whole Tila evil and side quest that is like, come on, Gweldor, you can't deny that's real. Anyway, so yeah, like I appreciate sort of the meta-ness of the movie, but also how Gweldor is sort of not evil like Hordak is. So like it's sort of this point of view that maybe not, like you cannot believe in magic and not be evil. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it has totally. Like there's like a Star Wars element where you have like the magic users in Star Wars or whatever, and then you have like the rogues and like the fucking Han Solos and the bounty hunters of it all, who's like I got no use for that. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing, this season did a really good job of honing in on that. Everything in this season is like choices. The whole thing that's set up is like, are you going to be He-Man? Or are you going to be Prince Adam? That's everything. Right. And then everything here is like a fucking choice. Is it science? Is it this? Is it heaven? Is it hell? Yeah. Everything is some kind of fucking choice. Maybe next season, what if Skeletor, maybe Frank Langella is behind this. Maybe it's the Frank Langella Skeletor. He's the guy behind all of this. We don't
I think
know.
He's still canceled, but sure.
Yeah, show us on the Anchor doll where Frank Langella touched you.
What? Wait, that's the thing with Frank Langella?
Go Google. Variety will
Google.
No, you know what? You guys are liars. Hold on a second. Let me see.
That's multiple things can be true, Hatter.
Frank Langella was
Frank Langella. No, wait, hold on a second. I thought at first you were talking about Kevin Spacey. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
We don't talk about Kevin Spacey because that means
Frank Langella fired.
Yeah.
Fired from Netflix to follow the House of Usher misconduct investigation role to be because oh no, was it something of an investigation which has been completed? I've been involved.
While you're looking at Frank Langella, I will say at some point potentially He-Man wore this outfit, which
that's true.
Pretty cool, at least in Revolution's world.
Save the Frank Langella rebuttal letter for after the stream. So
what if then? Okay, Frank Langella's out, but what if Courtney Cox is the new villain
if she has her bangs from Scream 3, that would explain her entire
she's got the bangs. Story. Courtney Cox is revealed to be Motherboard is not the real Motherboard. Courtney Cox is
solved it.
I almost gave something away.
You solved it.
Like, and we'll get away with it too, if not for you kids and my bangs.
That's right. Exactly. That would blow everybody's mind.
Yeah. If you don't know what I'm talking about, anyone in the audience, Google Courtney Cox Scream 3 bangs, and you will like cry. It's
I know what you're talking about. I've seen every one of those movies.
Yeah, exactly. And
you know which Scream movie you're watching by Courtney Cox's hair.
Yeah,
style.
exactly.
Like, tells you.
There's the blowout of the first one. There's the chunk of the second one. There's those bangs. Then there's the milkiness of 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Like a little extra grandma milfy,
Yeah.
but it's still milf. Yeah. Anyway, that screamed 3 bangs. I sat in the theater
So-
opening weekend, like, oh my god, Courtney Cox, where has our love gone wrong?
Tangent
Oh my God.
time.
Tangent time. So,
But-
Gwildor and Orko.
Oh yeah.
Anything
that's
else
right.
about them?
Those two guys.
We're getting close to 3 hours here.
No, but I really want that 2-pack, and I will say,
Yeah.
and
It's
we were talking about
beautiful.
this earlier. I
didn't
was
get it?
intentionally skipping on a lot of these things because
Wait, that's
Mythic-
out?
of Mythic Legions
Yeah.
and all sorts of other things that I've been wanting to buy. But this show has definitely made me circle
Yeah.
back and get some
You
stuff.
have to go Hatter to Entertainment Earth through your affiliate link, and you can get a discount on that. Because
But I don't have an affiliate. Nobody wants to.
Oh, well, then you could use the Geek Dad Life one. I
Okay.
guess.
Nobody wants to
Hmm.
affiliate my channel with them. They're like, we're shamed.
Oh, let me know. I will write an angry letter to Entertainment Earth.
Can you
Ooh,
do
yes.
that? 'Cause
Allison is.
You know what? Actually, Allison,
We pull out our Karens
they
just for
snubbed
you.
me
Yeah.
because they offered me one, and then I said, "Sure, let's do it," and then they never contacted me again.
Weird.
They fucking maybe I just got lost in the
Yeah.
shuffle, but you know, I thought I was a big shot, and then
It's
they're
in
like,
the
"No,
Miata
fuck
somewhere in the valley.
The
So.
Miata. I'm dead. All right. Moving on to the next scene. We are at Eternos, and He-Man leaves for Snake Mountain, and Andra is seeing him off, hoping that she's going to go with him, and he's like, "Sorry, you need to stay behind.
Mhm.
I'm just going on my own." And of course, she's really frustrated about that, and Keldor kind of like overhears her frustration, and essentially, this is when he convinces her to enhance the people. And yeah, that scene. Thoughts?
The Jar Jar
Go.
Binks of it all.
I didn't really buy that he convinced her to do that. I think it may have been more effective if she would have pushed back and he would have like had her like imprisoned or something. I don't know. It seemed like such a wacky plan. Like it was like, and it was such a thing that was. It felt like a writer thing. Where this is me being like a writer, but it felt like we got to have this happen quickly. Let's do it. I just didn't see like it didn't make sense that would happen. Not only did it would convince her, but in such a short amount of time, you just convince everybody to like fucking inoculate him. I think maybe if they set something else up, or maybe people were getting sick, and then he could trick them and be like, "This will get you to not be sick." I don't know. I felt like there were two things that it may have been more interesting if maybe he imprisoned her because she pushed back against that, but it just seemed like such a like weird plan.
Totally. And I think Adam makes a good point of why does everyone trust Keldor so quickly?
Right.
Like it seemed too easy, but that's 5 episodes for you, as Neil says.
And in addition to, especially because they have set up a specific amount of racism toward the Gar people, like it felt like they sort of glossed over in this aspect some of that depth of it. And I get we have 5 episodes that has to move briskly, but it just felt like I would have bought if he would have approached Andra and then like done some mind control thing, like some Jedi mind trick, or like like
I was hoping
with
someone would
something, but it just
question it. And I think it would have been Andra, and it almost seemed like because of that scene, like maybe they were originally thinking like that scene could have been when she was suspicious, but then they were like, we only have 5 episodes. We don't have time for anything but suspicion. And like, we have to remember, not only that, but like, this is also made for kids, and just like animated shows and any show in general, for the most part, you gotta suspend disbelief a little bit. So it's still very frustrating that there's not really any like proof that he gives, so it's a little frustrating that there's no one that really questions it at all.
I also agree. I also agree with the point. Sorry, Britt, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, but this is also like it's a monarchy, and she's literally like, just like in Revelation, when Randor was like, hissing a fit and just was like, "No, I'm exiling you, man at arms. Peace, get out of here. I hate you." This man at arms, Andra, just she's not supposed to. She hasn't been trained to question her king. So I think.
But I would have liked it if you can show a little bit of the conflict in her. Like,
sure.
like if she were to just be like, are you sure that we're supposed to be? And he's like, hey,
Yeah.
listen, do what the fuck I say,
It's
or whatever.
good to be the king. Yeah.
Yeah. I also would have liked what Allison was saying in terms of like the racism against what was that people? What was that race? Whatever that race is.
I don't know, but the fact that you don't know them is racist.
I know that is. I mean, that's me anyway. But the Guar people,
not the Guar, the Gar.
The
But
Gar. I feel like, yeah, I would have liked to have seen that where it's just like a little bit of like, yeah, how do they look at those people? Because there was a whole thing about like, you're a bastard son and those people betrayed. Like that would have been cool too. Like another layer of like, how do they look at like Keldor's peeps or whatever he is.
Oh, that's interesting. It doesn't show up on Netflix Kids. Well, maybe not your kids' version. I don't know.
No, it's
really
not good
much
for,
more protective of their kids.
I think 13 and older.
Any other thoughts on this scene before we move on to the next one?
Just the branding. Branding is a big deal in Eternia, and so the fact that and we're kind of joking, but episode 1 they had that big H that they put over the hole to keep Subternia closed. At first, I was like, "Oh, that's silly, but then it was like when I saw this, I was like, "Oh, smart." To show that Andra's really thinking about this stuff, and she is the reason why we get the action figure, one of my favorite He-Mans. I liked that He-Man kind of better back in the day. Battle Armor He-Man, right? Like she made that and like, here's an H, put it on when you go to battle, and that was cool.
Yeah, I don't think that it's their target market for the series, but like they can still watch it. Like it's not that crazy.
Well,
I was watching way worse stuff as a kid.
And so it's fine, and we all can have different perspectives, but I will lean on the side of like, I actually don't think either that this is necessarily targeted at kids, but I think it's open. My kids watch it and they're fine. But I'm their dad. But in terms of like, yeah, anime, there's a lot of anime that is not made for kids at all. And the animation culture and comic culture in Japan is very different from the US. But the other thing I'll say is Powerhouse in particular has done all real adult stuff. Like they did Castlevania, which was very much grown up, and so was the Zeus one.
Oh my god, Castlevania was so
that
good.
said, it's still MOTU. So I think very much so Mattel's not interested in alienating the kids. So I think Kayla's right in that it's a balance. I think it's a total balance.
Yeah. Brick's kids got bigger problems.
Yep, they're smart.
So then we have we're back at Gwildor's, and Orko and Gwildor still are making jabs at each other while Duncan tries to convince him to help. And it's just such a fun scene. And Gwildor's little like he keeps using these terms that I'm like, I'm sure everyone else recognized them, but I was like, I have no idea what you're saying, bro.
Did you write any of them down? I don't remember anything that stood out.
No. He like had an exclamation phrase that he used, and then there was another one that I think he didn't say Trollin, it was like something else.
Oh, I'm
and then I think Orko said something too.
He said snarf, snarf.
No, he said the word tortcom, which was like
yes.
I think what you're saying. I have no idea what that is. But then he does say some science-y, synthesizer-y stuff.
They also referenced the cosmic key, right?
Yep. And he talks about it resonating, and it's a synthesizer, which is kind of a joke or a conceit, I guess, from the motion picture. In that, like when it first shows up in a music store in Whittier, the dude thinks they're looking at it and he's like, is this like a new Japanese synthesizer? So
yeah, that's right. Kayla, I think your assignment tonight is to watch He-Man and the Masters of the Universe starring Dolph Lundgren.
Okay. It's already 10 o'clock.
You gotta, doesn't matter. You gotta be, because now you'll be probably one of the only people that you can, no, not the only people, but like you'll be seeing all of this in reverse. You know what I mean?
a lot of
Well, I mean, we plan on covering probably the rest. Like we're definitely gonna do a series on She-Ra. Like, we did on Revelation just before we started Revolution. So yeah, we're definitely gonna cover the rest of it because Johnny is a huge MOTU fan, so it's gonna be there. And Any other thoughts on that scene before we go back to Eternos?
Negative.
Cool. At Eternos, people are given bracelets and Listerine strip magnets to enhance them, which was very, very a la giving people the body and blood of Christ. Like literally on the wrist, so it's in your hand for the body, and then putting it on your tongue, which they can put the body of Christ on your tongue if you want, but also like drinking the blood of Christ, in your okay. Anyways, any thoughts on that scene?
Thank you for taking us to church.
Yes. Catholic, raised Catholic.
That was creepy. All of that, the spread of the cult stuff was creepy from the last from Revelation, but here it's like even creepier because it's all hidden and stuff. So
creepy cult people.
Yeah, and they give it to the old lady.
Which I hate to let people know, but religions are very culty.
Oh, here's where you end your stream.
I mean, if you look up the definition of a cult, once again, raised Catholic, went to Catholic school my whole life.
No.
Like, if you look up the definition of a cult.
That's everyone.
Anyways, moving on.
Sorry, Johnny.
So then He-Man arrives at Snake Mountain just to find Keldor's crown on the throne. Dun dun dun.
He went oops, and then and then he knew he fucked up. He knew that was his ass. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how about that battle armor He-Man?
Finally.
Pretty
first time on screen.
Doesn't it make sense that you would wear armor like that if you're going into a fucking fight? Like it just makes sense. Okay, like
but
battle
if you're
armor
He-Man though,
should be the standard He-Man.
Yeah, but if you're He-Man, I mean, technically,
you're just saying he wants to be fancy free and just all like.
He should just be naked. He's like so powerful, right?
I guess. I mean, yeah. At that point, just
like
be
savage
naked.
He-Man.
Why do you even need? Why do you even need the cross guard thing? You know what I mean? Like, just fuck it. It doesn't protect any vital organs. It's right in the middle of his sternum.
It's just there to hold his sword.
Well, your heart, right?
Well, no, but it's like center mass. It's not covering the heart.
I think it still covers the left side. I think
Does
it covers. Really?
It's just a big target.
Oh, I don't know.
It says, kick me right here.
Okay.
It's like a sports bra, but reverse.
I'm pretty sure it does, but all right. Anyways, let's see. Any thoughts on this scene, Allison, with him finding the crown?
No, just that. Duh.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a mouse. Duh. Let's see. And then meanwhile, Mommy Board arrives at Grayskull and breaks through the barriers, which apparently Screech. Is that what you said?
Say by the bell.
Yeah, Screech the big bluebird.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Every time you guys say Screech, I think Say by the Bell, and it just messes with my head. But yes.
And breaks through the barriers and transforms the castle to her own. Which I think I'll just say the end scene where, the Horde arrives, magic is blocked, chips are turned on in the people of Eternos, and He-Man turns back into Adam. Hordak takes his throne at Grayskull, and Adam is brought in, and Skelly reveals himself as being Keldor. Thoughts on all
And
of
they
that?
just sold you a new playset.
I know. I already need that Snake Mountain. Now I need the new Grayskull, the Horde Grayskull.
Dude, they sold you new Grayskull. They fucking sold you the Fright Zone. They
sold you a new tower tonight. We talked about
which one?
Potential fourth tower of Eternia.
Fourth Tower of Eternia. Dude, this show's fucked up, man.
I'm still confused.
Fucked up in a good way. We need the fourth tower.
Oh, look at that.
I'm still confused by the bat and the presence of both the bat and the cat in this, because the bat is kind of like is the Horde symbol, and their god was like Horikoth. And if you remember from Revelation, for whatever reason, when Evil Lynn became a sorceress of Grayskull, she looked like a bat. So I'm still wondering about what
I love the Evil Lynn bat costume.
Me too.
I fucking loved Evelyn. I was sad that it was just this
think we all
transition
did.
point between the old Evelyn and then like Super Saiyan Evelyn. I was like, that bat costume was the shit, and I wish that like it got more time because that like said to me like Evelyn, like she looked fucking evil. Okay.
Yeah, literally for my notes for this scene, I was like, damn, now I want that mommy Grayskull. That's what I'm gonna call it. And then of course Skelly has to go, I'll be a monkey's uncle. I'm like, you gotta have one last line about being uncle. It was great.
That's right. Yeah, you gotta get all those uncle jokes in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be a monkey's uncle.
Yeah, Ken. FYI, chat is on GTFO if you're wondering where all these chats are that we're bringing up.
Yeah, I sent them.
But yeah, Queen
Ken,
Cersei.
don't you have to go to sleep? All right.
No,
Ken,
he doesn't.
Connection. Okay, and Mega J, I saw what you wrote, Mega J. All right, so I'm gonna fucking come after you too. Enemies in the chat. We need mods. block all these.
Oh, they're mods. Thanos is a mod.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah. Any other? So much happens in this last like couple of minutes. You know, with the Horde arriving, like that was terrifying seeing the Horde.
Oh, with all their ships, all their Horde ships.
Yep.
Yep.
Dude, the Horde's no fucking joke, man.
Yeah.
And just I love all the Eternians, all the different sort of species that seem to be living.
Yep.
And Eternia is kind of cool. A lot of them never
Don't
seen
you want
before.
to play? Don't you want to play this as a video game? Like, don't you want to like I want like a Breath of the Wild type game. It's like in this world, like with these characters. That it's so fucking weird. It's like for all of the longevity of He-Man, there hasn't been like a video game that like I was like, oh man, like I can like there have been, but it's like they all kind of like
no, there haven't. No, I'm just
no,
kidding. They were so bad. They were so bad.
So
No, there
bad.
were. No, there wasn't.
Suck. But like, I wish somebody would make like just like a real like. It's unfair. It's unfair, guys. You know why? Because they make 1,000 Spider-Man video games. They make like every Marvel character, but it's like, what about the stuff that's like kind of like what we love, like a little more niche? Okay, like
it just lost its juice, and so I think if it gets its juice back, someone will be interested. There was a cool iOS game back in the day that was more like a side-scrolling thing. But speaking of video games and Zelda, this is what Johnny was saying earlier, and he's absolutely right. This mural was amazing. Totally gave us some powers of Grayskull on the entertainment for the first time ever. We saw
cool.
King Grayskull last time, but we saw the giant. So awesome stuff.
Yeah. Allison, your thoughts on this last big scene?
It was cool until that final look. The googly-eyed Grayskull thing didn't work for me. Like it looked a little too CGI and a little too fake. I liked the idea of it. I liked until that last shot, and it just is a little too much. Like
you didn't like Bowser's Castle Grayskull?
Yeah, exactly. It was just like that was just too much.
Yeah,
like,
there is something about it. I think especially having the wings.
I think the wing. It was the eyes for it. It just looked a little too much. So
I will say also, I think part of it is the CG kind of mixed in with the 2D animation or that 3D mixed in with it. It's all kind of
wielding.
It's technically all digital, but yeah.
Thanos said the text is covering a Gar wielding the staff of Ka.
Interesting.
The what is? The text on the subtitles?
The interior looked better than the exterior. I don't know. Maybe. Not sure. They're sub titties, Brick. Get it right.
I know.
Yeah, on the mural, he said.
Oh, on the mural. Yeah.
Eyes. Yeah, the eyes are definitely, now that I'm looking at it again, the eyes kind of are a bit much.
Real quick, you're talking about the Breath of the Wild mural? Take a drink, Curtis. Sorry.
Good game.
What about anything else with Screech sounds like a big deal to show up from what everyone said. So that's pretty cool. I know nothing, but
Thanos has good eyes. We don't know what that's about. But it sure is cool.
That is cool.
Sure.
Good catch. Good catch. Yeah. All right. Final thoughts on this episode. Go. Anyone?
No. I mean, like,
Not
I have many
everyone going
thoughts-
at once.
I have many thoughts, but none of them final. We could go forever, but no. Like, I need to stop because everything would spoil the next two for everyone watching.
Yeah. Want to try to keep it spoiler free as much as we can, even though I'm pretty sure most people have watched it. But since we're calling this show episodes 2 and 3, want to try to keep it to that as much as we
I'm
can.
excited for what happens next and whatever it is in these next 2 episodes.
Oh, and we have another pussy on the screen.
For
Oh,
me,
Not you.
Ginger.
Same.
No.
I love the episode.
Aw.
I think it's a cool point in the season because we're heading towards the climax, but clearly, like,
love the
things are
climax.
not looking. I know. Yes, and we love to share, but I love the
That's cool.
the impending doom,
Oh, that's a cool
right?
shot.
And
Yeah.
we are relying on 2 of the quote physically smallest potentially people in this to save the day. And I dig it. It's cool stuff. It's like the classic action adventure heroic stuff that I grew up on, and this is why I love MOTU, and I'm glad they did it.
Love. Hatter, final thoughts on this episode?
It's tough to compartmentalize because I'm taking in the whole.
Totally.
But I remember liking this episode, okay, because I liked pretty much all of the episodes. I think season 5 was went by like a breeze. Season 5, the 5 episodes went by like a breeze.
Yes.
Great. I was like, I rarely can like binge through shit, but I was like, oh my God, let's keep going.
Right.
So like this episode, dig this episode. MOTU is back, baby. That's all I got.
Back.
The masters of the universe have returned. Okay, I want to spoil for everybody in this fucking chat. I want to spoil it so bad, but I'm not going to. Okay, I want to ruin this for everybody.
Well, if you want to come back and talk about the last 2 episodes Friday, you are more than welcome.
But that's a Friday. Friday might be difficult, but if I can, I will.
It's gonna be later because we're gonna split it up into 2 shows, which
it's gonna depend on your guests, because if it's people I don't like personally, I'm not gonna show up. Okay, I like Brick, I like Allison. I was like, I'll fucking show up to this one, but that's gonna really depend, Kayla. I'm just saying. By the way, everybody, get your Mondo Orco tomorrow. Ends tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Don't miss out. You got $200 burning a hole in your pocket. They just introduced a spell book.
Yes.
This Orco is fucking fantastic. I saw it. I'm not shilling for Mondo. I get nothing from Mondo. I promise you. You guys know me. I know nobody wants me to sponsor them, so this is not part of that. But that Orco looks fucking fantastic, and you get Formation Orco, you get Driel, and you get a spell book they just announced. You get a fucking spell book. So everybody go out and buy that. That's what I'm saying.
Yep. Okay, Allison, final thoughts on episode 3.
It was very good. I liked it a lot. Except for the ugly Castle Grayskull shot at the very end. The rest of it was very good. And the lazy writing around Andra, but otherwise it was a good episode. So.
Okay. Now I'm going to go in reverse. Let everyone know where they can find you, what you got going on next, all that goodness.
Yeah, I am on YouTube, Retro Toy Princess, and there's a cat. Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, my Castle Grayskull from concept to kid stuff debuts. And it's a short history on the early days of Castle Grayskull, and it ends with a dramatic narration by my boyfriend who used to do radio and voice work. And he's come out of retirement to record the kid stuff book, which I colored because it's kind of what I do on my channel is color stuff, and do toy history. So he's read it in the style. I did not let him listen to any of the 80s kid stuff records, but he read it, and I just said, we need 80s bombastic style. And I think he captured the spirit of it, and I slipped in the old sound from the "You May Now Turn the Page." So that'll all be there 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. There'll be a premiere. I'll be in chat, so join me for that so that we can revel in the 80s goodness of it.
Love. All right, going back in reverse order. Hatter, where can people find you? What do you got going on?
You can find me in the club, as everybody knows.
In the club.
In the club, I don't know.
We all think.
You could find me on the Mad Hatter Reviews channel, guys. I make up to 4 videos a week, guys.
You pump them out.
Yeah, I pump them out because I got nothing to do. I'm a fucking loser. Okay, this is
Right
what
around LA Mustang buying toys.
Yeah, I got no life. Yes, find me at Mad Hatter Reviews, guys. We talk about toys. We talk about everything there. We talk Ninja Turtles and Masters of the Universe. Everything you guys love.
Everything.
And
you were the Turtles expert.
Turtles
not Nostalgia Unboxed.
No, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy for real. Nostalgia Unboxed, by the way, he announced he's gonna actually quit doing YouTube. I don't know if you guys heard. So just maybe you might want to just unfollow now, because otherwise you're just gonna be disappointed. So follow me, unfollow Nostalgia Unboxed, and that's it. Mad Hatter Reviews. Mad Hatter Reviews.
Nice.
Nice. No, Mad Hatter Reviews.
Yes. All right, Brick, your turn.
You can find me on the Brick Something channel. And if you go to bricksomething.com, it should take you right to the channel. I'm on Instagram at brick.something. Kind of behind on the shorts, but I got to get those up. If you look at my Instagram feed or even my shorts feed on YouTube, it looks like a vintage 80s card back with all my action figures on the same background. I love it. Working on something that I need to edit with Ms. Allison Troy and myself, where we unboxed some Sectors toys. Spoiler alert, one of us was really happy. One of us was, had some issues. But so
I have
check
issues
that out.
normally, but
Working on a collaboration with Cobweb as well on MasterVerse. Actually, it's relevant to this. MasterVerse was actually kind of pivotal in me beginning to spend way too much money on toys again. So there's that. And other than that, I'm just waiting for my Pox's figures. If you know, you know. That's it.
Oh, Pox's.
Love. Does this bring us all back? Yes, it does. I can do this without Johnny. Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us. It's been a lot of fun. If you're watching on the replay, thanks for watching on the replay. Make sure to leave a comment if you like. If you're here, make sure, or if you're watching on the replay, make sure to smack that like, smack that subscribe, smack that bell icon, smack all the things. If you want to follow us, at a GTFO channel is our handle on all the social medias. And for this week, we have our regular Trek Retrek Thursday night. And I will finally announce what we have hinted at many a times. So yeah, we have some special guests joining us Friday night, which we're going to be breaking up into 2 streams. So our first stream, which will be at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, we will be joined by none other than Ted Viacelli and Nate Barch. So very, very excited about that. We're going to be chatting with them. Brick will be back for that interview with them as well. And then I think Toy Sorceress is going to come on a little bit later and talk with them. And then we'll do a second stream where we talk with everyone about the craziness of the last 2 episodes of the season. So yeah, very, very excited for that. And yeah, I think that's it. Thanks everyone for geeking the F out with us. Hope you have a good evening, day, afternoon, whatever time of day it is you might be watching this. All right. Peace out, y'all.